Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remus.
Happy Friday, everybody. Let's get to it. Labor Day weekend just about here. And we have a packed edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily to kick off the weekend for you. Great to have you with us, Andrew Paterson, Connor Hrabchak jumping on today. And we're going to be talking Bombers Riders. We're going to get into some NFL talk with Hacksaw. Huge trade yesterday. Looking forward to getting Connor's take on that right off the top. And our pal Ken Wiebe was on the Olympic beat out in Calgary this week, talking to Josh Morrissey and some of the players that were there for Canada's orientation camp, Olympic hopefuls. So Ken will jump on. And a very special non-sports guest. We couldn't resist the opportunity to get this guy on when the opportunity came by. Steve-O of Jackass fame and much more, coming to Winnipeg on the 19th of September. He's going to join us to tell us what he's up to right now and what we'll look forward to when his tour comes to Winnipeg coming up next month. We, of course, are getting ready to head out to Regina tomorrow with all of you Bomber fans. I know that there's tons of buses coming out. Shout out to everyone that's jumping on with us for the 1930 crew. Check this out. Got the shirt ready to go. We'll probably see a lot of these running around Regina over the course of the weekend. But whether we see it in Brandon or whether we see it in Regina, popping by Crave Saturday night for the annual Bombers get-together, or just at Wayne's World or at the game, travel safely out there, everybody, and let's have a hell of a weekend. You know what? Just as we get into this, speaking of which, I got a shout out to Kyle Johansson and his boys Cooper and Tucker. They're heading out for their fourth consecutive Labor Day, and he mentioned that they always save the Friday show and listen to it on the way out to Regina. Maybe a few of you others are doing that as well. Always appreciate it. But the Johansson boys, we'll look forward to hopefully bumping into you guys as well. But have a safe drive out there to all you Bomber fans. And listen, bottom line, this is all about having fun. So make sure you travel safely. Best way to do that is just getting on a bus and not driving. And mix in a water or two, but most importantly, keep it fun. And there'll be a lot of green. There'll be some blue there. One thing I know is that everyone should be having a great time at the Labor Day Classic. Just before we bring in Connor, welcome to everybody in chat. Great to see you all. There's Dan, Jets fan. He won, of course, our Coolbet contest for the 1930 crew. Looking forward to seeing Dan and his guest. Or no, that was Derek, actually. But Dan is on it. I know Dan's coming with his daughter. So many of our regulars going to be jumping on. I'll look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow morning when we get fired up and get going. But I do want to say shout out to everybody in chat. Obviously, all of you podcast listeners, especially those of you that are listening on the way out to Regina. And stay tuned to our social channels, mine at Hustlerama, all weekend long for some of the fun hijinks coming out of the Queen City on the weekend. Just before we bring in Connor, we can't do this show every day without the incredible support of our sponsors. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada. And we got fired up for NFL season this morning. If you missed it, myself, Pat Gregoire, and Jake, about a good hour and a half of NFL talk with all of our favorite futures bets, player props, division winners, league leaders, awards, our picks for the AFC and NFC and Super Bowl. It is all up right now on the Winnipeg Sports YouTube channel. And going forward, people are always asking for more content on the channel. Well, good news, the weekly NFL picks against the spread show with myself, Pat, Jake, Connor Hrabchak producing and popping in with Niners propaganda occasionally. That will be 10 a.m. Friday morning, every morning through the rest of the season. So if you missed it already, check that out over the weekend. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about the picks. And join us next Friday when we get going with our friends over at Coolbet. I also want to thank Princess Auto. Of course, Andrew and the fellows over at F Apparel, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, Manitoba Battery, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Rollies Transfer, Little Brown Jug. We'll be taking a few of those out west. Boston Pizza, Royal Sports. The Gold Eyes, who are finishing up their season this weekend with some gorgeous weather for the final games of the year. Breezy Bend. And, of course, our friends at Assiniboia Downs. We'll get to a Why Not question of the day for not Autocorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. And, of course, get your fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Let's get this show on the road. Connor Hrabchak, get in here. How you doing?
Doing great. Friday before the long weekend, Labor Day weekend, Huss. Hoping everyone has safe travels, including you and the rest of the 1930 crew out to Regina if you're heading out there. And honestly, just a great weekend ahead for, if you're a sports fan. Tonight we get Shane Bieber starting against the Milwaukee Brewers at a packed Rogers Center. Going to be so awesome. Tomorrow morning, week 1 of college football, if that's your thing. Texas versus Ohio State, 1-3. I'm super excited for that. NFL's next week. Lock in your futures. Labor Day Classic on Sunday, which is obviously the focus here on this show, and will dominate the next 2 hours and a bit talking Bombers, Riders. I can't wait. It's going to be a great weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's such a fun. I mean, you will be conspicuous by your absence this weekend. I was probably killing you not to be coming on the trip.
Stings.
You have a wedding, don't you?
Yes, my cousin is getting married and I'm in the wedding party and I'm very excited for it. I'll have you know.
Yes, I know you are, as one would, but we need to do something about these weddings. Long weekends in general, I would suggest. But I mean, I have been in your exact situation a couple years ago. I had to MC a wedding for some friends, so I couldn't go to the trip. And to top it all off, the wedding was literally during the Labor Day Classic on Sunday. I mean, if we're going to be doing these Labor Day weekend weddings, can we at least do them on Saturday so you can watch the game, even if you're not in Regina? I don't know what's up with these Sunday weddings, especially this weekend, but it's a problematic development, and I think we need to stop this in the bud.
Well, I will say, yeah, the ceremony is in the afternoon, and then like the after party kind of reception party part is during the game. So I'll be able to, keep up with the score, maybe watch, the 2-minute drill in the second and fourth quarter. And then Huss, maybe this is a good thing, because what if the Bombers win and I've been partying for 4 hours already at this wedding? Well, then it's just going to be one of the best nights ever, right? So this might be a good thing. This might be a good thing.
How are you feeling about the game and the Bombers' chances going into Regina?
I'm feeling good. I mean, I like that Dalton Schoen's going to be back. We talked a lot going into the season about how important he was going to be to the Bombers offense, and none of that has changed, even though he's missed all this time with an injury. Is DeMario Houston going to get some reps at corner as well, which has been another big weakness for the Bombers? I think this is a big Willie Jefferson game. I think if Nick Dembski plays, I think it's a big Nick Dembski game, which seems like every single week at this point, but he's a guy that's made for the Labor Day Classic, for the Banjo Bowl. Same with Willie Jefferson. I think Zach Collaros in the run game, what you saw last week, if they can bring a little bit more of that momentum, and especially the offensive line, Huss, that we talked a lot about this week, the interior of that line with Wallace, Kolinkowski, and Neufeld, if they can get that same push in the run game, the same protection with Zach Collaros, let him cook on second and long, I like the Bombers' chances. Now, I agree with you. You've been saying all week that if things get out of hand early and the crowd gets behind the Riders, things could go from bad to worse very quickly, and that is a real worry for me. But at the same time, I believe in what I saw from the Bombers last week being more closer to the identity that we've been used to over the last number of years. And I think regardless, we're going to get a close game going into this Labor Day Classic. And I have faith in Serge. I have faith in the stars on the Bombers to push them over the top or get really close to it, which should make for a great game.
Yeah, big time players come up in the big time games, and this is the biggest one of the regular season. And listen, I say that these games can get away from the Bombers based on personal experience of attendance over the years at these games. I mean, it did take me, I think, 8 cracks to finally see a win. Right. And, I went through nights like the 52-0, all we want is a Rouge game, in 2012. But I did see a lot to like from the Bombers, last week, and mainly like the most important parts of the game. You mentioned the interior of the line, establishing the run, and listen, Brady Oliveira, his last couple of games, I mean, you want to talk about a guy that has been making up for some lost time earlier in the season and playing like a man possessed. I mean, that game he had against the Alouettes was one of his best. I mean, over 200 combined yards. I'm not necessarily expecting that against a really good Saskatchewan defense, but I'm not ruling it out either. I mean, Montreal's got a pretty good defense of their own. Though it is funny, these are the top two defenses against the run in the Canadian Football League, which may put more on the quarterbacks. You mentioned Willie Jefferson, Connor. I think Willie probably is the most important person on the defensive side of the football for Winnipeg. He is a game wrecker and has wrecked games for both Winnipeg and Saskatchewan in previous Labor Day Classics and Banjo Bowls. If Trevor Harris has time, not that he needs a lot of it, it could be a long day for that Blue Bomber secondary. I mean, they're probably going to have to be in man a lot more than they normally are, just because of how quickly Trevor Harris gets the ball out and how he eats up zone defenses. So having Willie in the defensive line being able to get into the backfield, even if you're not sacking Trevor Harris, get in his face, get your hands up, make it difficult for him. And for a guy that throws very quickly, to make him make those choices. And certainly for the Bombers, pressing the receivers, being in that right spot early on in the play when Trevor Harris consistently gets rid of the football, I think will be key. And then you don't want to get burned on double moves, because if you do give him the amount of time with what you're probably focusing on right off the snap, that's when those big plays come. But, both teams have been dealing with some injuries. We've talked about the Bombers secondary. The Rider receiving core has been nicked up, but they've still kept on rolling. And that, I'll give them a lot of credit, Connor. That is a very deep team. Like, as much as they have had early issues on the offensive line and receivers, and every team gets injuries, with the exception of those two games against Calgary, they have really looked like the class of the league up until this point in the season.
And it's been ugly, Huss, but except for the games against Calgary, the Bombers are 6-1? So these two teams, like the Calgary Stampeders, have owned these two teams. And outside of the games against Calgary, both of these teams have pretty good records, 8-0 and 6-1. Yeah. So this is such an interesting game, because you mentioned Trevor Harris and how he likes to get the ball out of his hands super quickly. I see that as a big opportunity for Willie Jefferson as well, because when he's dropping back, Trevor Harris and he's trying to get the ball out super quickly, we know Willie Jefferson will be jumping at the line of scrimmage using his 6'7" frame and very long wingspan to jump up there and try and bat those balls down. So if the Bombers secondary, and this is a big but if they can limit the explosion plays over the top, which has been the Achilles heel for this defense over the course of the season, I see them having some success. And Cam Allen, I've really liked at safety. Tony Jones, I've really liked at middle linebacker. The secondary, I think, is getting better by the game. Again, last week they went against a fourth-string quarterback. I don't know how much you can really take away from a game like that, but I still think if Willie Jefferson can have a few knockdowns on the plays that Trevor Harris is holding onto the ball, get some more pressure, maybe blitz, play a little bit more aggressively, and have the secondary make some plays, I think the defense could have a strong game for the Bombers, and that's saying something going against one of the best offenses in the league in the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But like I said, it's all, to me, in the first quarter, because if the Bombers go down early, you could see that crowd get behind them. That sold-out, biggest crowd ever in Mosaic history, 34,000 plus. You could see them get behind the Riders, and you could see things steamroll in a way that I don't think anyone here on this program wants to see.
It is going to be nuts there. I cannot wait to be a part of it. Just looking at the chat, I did see John Ohm. By the way, I know John Ohm's a big RP show guy. Rod Pedersen's coming up first up today. We got to talk to Rod around Labor Day weekend. He said, Joe is back for the Riders from NFL Cuts. Yeah, he just got there in the last day. So I wouldn't expect him to play this weekend. I mean, I have a feeling he's probably able to come in and probably be an option in the Banjo Bowl. But the big returnee to the lineup this weekend for the game is on the Bombers side of things, and that's Big 83 in Dalton Schoen. Now, we won't have the roster until tomorrow, but I do expect Dalton Schoen to be there, and fingers crossed, Nick Dembski. And it is funny, Connor, so many. This is why I was a little disappointed and sad for Jared Stearns that he wasn't able to play in this game. Former Riders playing on the Bombers seem to love the Labor Day game, much like former Bombers playing for the Riders love coming back for the Banjo Bowl and will play big. And let's face it, Nick Dembski, arguably, as we talked to Ed Tate earlier this week, probably the MOP of the Bombers up until this point in the season when you consider players that have missed time. His presence in that game, to me, is so important. I mean, if you get Dalton Schoen back, that's amazing. But if you're losing Dembski at the same time, you know, you're probably not that much further ahead. And then including the loss of Stearns as well. If you can get Dembski into the lineup, I think the Bombers will be in good shape to be right in this game. It is interesting, and I know we were kind of spending all morning on Coolbet with the NFL lines, but since late last night, this line's actually moved 1.5 points. It was 5.5 when I went to bed last night, and it's now 4. And the Bombers, who were plus 200 to win earlier this week, are now plus 180. And, you know, when you look at the recent games in this series, 4 of the last 5 Labor Day games, Connor, have been decided by 2 points. And if we can have another tight one, I think that bodes really well for the Bombers, because the one guy we haven't mentioned yet is Sergio Castillo. And Sergio walked it off last year. Well, didn't walk it off, but gave them the winning field goal late in the game in the 35-33 win. Brett Lauther has really struggled this year. We'll talk about that with Rod coming up in a few minutes. But with the struggles of Brett Lauther, although I did hear today, and I wish I didn't hear this, they said, oh, Lauther had a family issue going on this week. Well, he just had the birth of his first kid. So I'm a big baby swag guy.
Bad strength.
The funny thing is, if Lauther goes 6 for 6 in this football game and has his big redemption game, his preparation for future games might just be sleep deprivation. But we'll see how he's doing. But congratulations to Lauther on the new addition to the family. Hopefully the earlier part of the week is better than the Sunday for the Lauther family, because the Bombers can go in and get it done. Listen, we'll have more time to talk about this as the day continues. We'll see what Ken has to say about it. Rod's going to come on in just a couple minutes. Before we do that, though, got to get your take. We finished the show yesterday, and about 15 minutes afterwards, breaking news. Yeah. Micah Parsons traded to the Green Bay Packers. I can't believe Jerry did it.
I can't believe Jerry did it either. I thought, he did it with Dak. He did it with CeeDee Lamb. It was just this big play. He wants to keep the Cowboys in the media, in the news all the time. I didn't think it would actually end in a trade. It was always going to end with Micah Parsons just signing with the Cowboys and playing. That's the assumption we were all under. And to trade him to within the conference to a Super Bowl contender in the Green Bay Packers, and to do it for an otherwise underwhelming return, that was very, very shocking to me. It's one of the biggest trades in recent NFL history, period. I mean, he got $47 million per season for the next 4 years upon his trade to the Green Bay Packers. That's the highest non-quarterback contract in NFL history, just to speak to how important Micah Parsons is to the Dallas Cowboys and now to the Green Bay Packers. He's the odds-on favorite for the Defensive Player of the Year over at Coolbet. I can totally see him winning DPOY with the Green Bay Packers. They have a good defense. And Micah Parsons, I mean, what a crazy, crazy day that was on Twitter, because no one was expecting him to do it. And then Jerry Jones actually trades him and then goes up at the press conference and calls him Michael like 14 times. It's like, what are we doing here, man? It's just the biggest soap opera in sports is the Dallas Cowboys. And it was just another funny day yesterday.
I will say this. There is an argument to be made that, that this actually will, in the long term, look better for Dallas than it does right now. Sure. I mean, anytime you move a superstar player like that, there's a lot that comes into it. They're going to be paying him a ton of money in Green Bay short term. This is a pushing the chips in the middle for the Green Bay Packers this year. And the crazy thing is that this was traded to Green Bay. When you look back in the last 10 years, the 3 best Cowboys teams that had legitimate Super Bowl aspirations have all been knocked out by the Green Bay Packers. So the fact that they did it The only guy in the league that does this is Jerry Jones, because no other GM would have the balls to do it, because they'd be afraid that they'd get fired. And of course, Jerry is Teflon in Dallas. So Hacksaw is going to come on. We'll touch on this again a little bit later on today on the program. But it's not Labor Day weekend without a visit from Hot Rod Pedersen. We'll get Rod on in just a minute. We're going to be making moves to Regina on the weekend, everybody. If you and your family have a move coming up over the next few months, lean on our friends at Rolly's Transfer for that move. Rolly's Transfer, family owned and operated for 60 years, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Been doing it for generations of Winnipeggers, and nobody does it better. Check out their website at rollies.com for all the information about their services, and click on Request an Estimate, and you'll want to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Then simply let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. Hopefully we'll be all smiles leaving Mosaic Stadium on Sunday. One thing I can tell you is that if you need to get your smile worked on, pop over and see our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Dr. Terry and his great staff are waiting for you in a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. They've been doing it for generations in St. Vital, taking customers from 6 months all the way to 99 plus with everything you need, from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. Find out more on all their services and make an appointment. Tell them WST sent you online today at stvitaldental.ca. And of course, Bomber fans making the trek out to Regina, if you're hitting your Manitoba liquor marts before you go, make sure to pick up a Canadian Club pack. Of course, CC and Ginger, the Citrus Smash, the Half and Half, a huge hit this summer. And of course, if you want to toast a Bomber victory and a great weekend with Canada's #1 Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and right now has a special limited edition Blue Bomber label. Pick it up while supplies last at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And just before we bring in Rod, I know a lot of you are still getting out to campsites or getting on the water. Manitoba Battery has been powering our summer all year long with the best prices in batteries for your boats, your campers, your ATVs, and soon it's going to be time to get batteries for sleds, cars, and trucks to get through the winter. Wake up, Winnipeg. Stop paying more at the big box stores. Manitoba Battery has the best prices in town, period. Blowing out the Costcos of the world when it comes to price, and the best customer service, as they'll deliver the batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. You can also visit them on Logan Avenue and their new store on Dovercourt Drive in the south end of the city. But for all your battery needs, keep it local, save money with Manitoba Battery online at manitobabattery.com. All right, always look forward to welcoming in our next guest, especially around Labor Day weekend. The host of the Rod Pedersen Show, RP himself, Rod, joins us now. What is going on, dude? How are you?
Hey, Hustler. You know I'm a Cowboys fan, right?
Okay, so what was your reaction yesterday when the notification went off that Micah Parsons was on his way to cheese country?
Good question. My thought was, so that's where he's going, huh? I knew that he couldn't stay in Dallas, and I'm getting a kick out of all the non-Cowboys fans watching the America's Team documentary on Netflix. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it yet. I'm maybe going to get into it on the bus.
Oh, you got to watch it. It's 8 episodes, and the people that are saying, oh, Jerry Jones seems like a nice guy. I'm like, oh, you're not a Cowboys fan. You haven't been saddled with this since 1989 like the rest of us, and that if you stand up to Jerry, you're gone. And that's what Micah Parsons did. And I just look at guys like Jerry and guys like that, because I've worked for guys like that. It's like, you'd rather hurt yourself than to prove a point and do what's best for the team. That's where we are at in Cowboys land, Hustling. And this thing about the picks, we don't know they're going to turn into Pro Bowlers. Micah Parsons was a high pick. Sorry to go off, man, because that's not what you asked. But it's just, I'm just tired of it. And the question on our show was, who wins the Super Bowl first, the Packers or the Cowboys? It's probably going to be the Packers. And I had voted for that, and I'm the Cowboys fan.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers can win the NFC right now this year. I mean, this is a very aggressive chips in the middle move. And you know what? Listen, they've got Jordan Love signed. I mean, they've now got nearly $100 million tied up in those two players, but they've got a really young receiving core. They were already the youngest team in the playoffs last year. So while you've got these guys on rookie contracts, sometimes you have to make an aggressive move to strike. And that is exactly what the Packers did with the deal. And I'll tell you what, just from a Cowboys perspective, I was stunned that if they were going to make this trade, that they did it with Green Bay, because Rod, as a Cowboys fan, you'll know, I mean, the three best teams that they've had in the last 10 years with legitimate, I guess going back to 2014, with real legitimate Super Bowl aspirations, have all been knocked out by the Green Bay Packers.
I know. That's why I'm a little surprised that the deal was made with Green Bay, but it was, I guess, the best deal that Jerry could get. And I mean, I'm not that familiar with Kenny Clark because I don't watch a lot of Packers games necessarily, but he's not a game wrecker like Micah Parsons. So it's interesting because, and I will swing it to Labor Day here. I had Mike Abu-Meshrik on my show today, and I said, you know, in hockey, we say that if it's true, the team that got the best player won the trade. And if that's the case in football, then Green Bay won the trade. And Abu said, well, this isn't hockey, right? He thinks Dallas won the trade. So it's too early to say. Yeah, it's weird that it's with Green Bay. But anyways, it was fun telling Labor Day memories with Mike Abu-Meshrik, who played in 9 of them, by the way, on both sides, Bombers and Riders.
Hey, just one last thing on the Cowboys trade. And you might want to check this out. Skip Bayless, of course, for so many years has been, you know, dropping contrarian takes and, you know, I think doing a lot of rage baiting, basically, like saying things that are going to drive people crazy, that get people watching. And hey, it's been good for him. I will give Skip Bayless credit, and I've been a big critic of his for a long time. He's a huge Cowboy guy. He was golfing yesterday. He got off the course, went into his car, set up his phone, and did an 11-minute rant on this trade. To summarize, it's good riddance, Micah Parsons. He said they should have done it. I can't believe I did it, but I watched every second of this thing, Rod. Skip was cooking. He was cooking. It's a masterpiece of a take. And if you're a Cowboy fan, even if you can't stand Skip, you'll watch this and it says, okay, there is another side to the story, because, of course, it was an avalanche of the Cowboys are idiots. How did they do this? There is another side to it. So time will tell, but certainly in the short term, this hampers Dallas this year, and Green Bay is now the favorite to win the NFC North, and I think right there with some of the Super Bowl contenders. But back to Labor Day, Rod. You know, you're talking to people around the province right now. It seems like the Calgary games notwithstanding, for both of these teams, it has been a great start to the season for the Riders. They still sit in first place. They've got 8 wins of the year. They are undefeated against anybody not named the Calgary Stampeders. And it seemed to really spark the fan base. There was some real concerns of where the fans were at the start of the year. And man, I am so excited to get out there. A record crowd of over 34,000 expected at Mosaic on the weekend. You know, winning puts butts in seats, and it seems like the Rider Nation is on board with Corey Mesa's squad this year.
Oh, yeah. Well, you caught me at a good time because I'm heading back to Florida next weekend. So I'm around here, i.e. I'm talking to the Rider fans. I'm immersed in it. And what I'm hearing and sensing, and these are my people, obviously, was there was no concern whatsoever going into the season. I had them picked for 13 wins. A lot of fans thought that was light, and they're on the way to doing that. They're for at least 13 wins. But you mentioned the Calgary games. That knocked the stuffing out of them, brought the fans and the team, and kind of brought them down to earth. And to be honest, we hear all different opinions. I'm like, have we not followed this league long enough to know that the first half of the season doesn't mean diddly squat. And as Abu brought up on my show today, if the Bombers sweep this, they're tied with the Riders. And vis-a-vis would be first place in the West themselves. So that's what's riding on the line here. And I delved into the game notes. It's one of my favorite things to do, Huss, is read the CFL game notes. And I would have lost a bet if you told me the Bombers had won 3 of the last 4 Labor Day Classics. That doesn't seem right, but that's a fact.
You know, by the way, one of your faves, Tico Napoli, who you called out on live TV, is in here. Tico Napoli with the big super chat to get it, Rod. Hey, listen, that's why he's one of the best. He doesn't mind confrontation on the air. And listen, when it comes to this game, though, Rod, just before we kind of get into the X and O's of the matchup and what's at stake, you've been around for many, many years. This is a game that brings the Prairies together. And I would suggest that with the Bombers and where they've been for the last number of years and kind of being the team to beat coming into the season, 5 straight wins in the West, and the resurgence of the Riders under Corey Mace, the weather that's set up for this, I mean, the weekend itself, the crowd that's coming into, this is actually setting up to be, I haven't been as excited about everything around the game really since pre-pandemic times. Are you getting that sense that this Labor Day weekend is a big, big deal in Saskatchewan more than it has been in recent years?
Of course. I had the sports doctor on my show the other day, Dave Patrician. He's coming out as well. I'll see all you Cowboys Saturday night. As you were talking about this being a big deal for the people of the Prairies, how about our dearly beloved and departed Sean Coates? You probably remember, Huss, him tabbing this back to back agricultural Armageddon. Do you remember that? And
what a line!
That was back when the teams each did their own game notes plus league game notes. I'll never forget reading Sean Coates' agricultural Armageddon across the top of the game notes. That was 20 some years ago. And I think it's my age. I'm starting to just reminisce about a lot of things. But like Abu goes, his first Labor Day Classic that he played in was 2000. First one I broadcast was 99. Bro, that was a quarter century ago.
Dude, don't remind me. Don't remind me.
So once you get your head around that, I've been thinking about Sean Coates flashing in front of my face and the Mike Sellers and the Charles Roberts, obviously. And even for us, like Kendall Lawrence on a game-winning punt return in 2016, I remember screaming, "What a classic!" on the last play. Like, I hadn't had these thoughts for like the past 10 years. But now some of the wildest Labor Day classics are really, I don't know why, but they're all popping into my head right now. And it's awesome.
Well, and Rod, I'll be honest. I mean, and listen, I don't date back to the late 90s, but I think the first Labor Day game I went to was 2008 with the crew. And we had to sit through 8 trips of ass kickings before the Bombers finally won that game. But the tables have turned recently, and obviously the Bombers have won 3 of the last 4. What's really interesting, though, is 4 of the last 5 games on Labor Day in Saskatchewan, Rod, have been 2-point games. And even though the Riders are the favorites and they should be favored, I still do think that there's a very good chance we have another absolute nail biter. And here's the thing. If Bomber fans want to be confident on one thing, the one thing that you can absolutely make the argument that the Bombers have a clear advantage in is the kicking game and Sergio Castillo. And we saw that last year with him hitting that long one and the Bombers winning 35-33. But recent history tells us that both of these teams, these ones could be close. How big of a story has the season Brett Lothar has had, albeit congratulations to him, new father apparently. Maybe he'll have the baby swag on the weekend. Because, they've been first place all along, and you tune into some of the shows and people are just talking about the kicker. And listen, the pressure increases in this game, especially for a guy that's got someone else hanging around there to take the job if he can't get it done.
Well, look, It's funny that you're peering over the border at what's being said here. And you're right. There's just a large segment of people that you're 8-2, or even when you were 8-1, all you were bitching about was the kicker. For Christ's sakes, can you be happy about something? But I know you guys have the same with Jets fans, because I watch what you guys are doing and what the fans, there's just the way people are. So not everybody's bitching about Brett Lauther, but I'll be honest, it probably is the number one topic. And I've been sitting there kind of going back with fans. I don't argue anymore, Huss. Like you say, I'm not afraid to shut people down. Like, I'm not afraid of anybody, trust me. But I'm also not going to argue with anybody anymore either. Brett Lauther hasn't cost them a game. Hasn't cost them one game. So until he does, he's been in this league since at least 2013, because he was on the Hamilton Tiger Cats when they lost the Grey Cup to the Riders here at Taylor Field. He's earned the right, I feel, to work his way out of this. I don't know exactly what's going to break down on Sunday. I assume he's going to be the starting kicker. He has to be. That's just a respect factor. That's the way Corey Mace, that's how the way any good coach rolls. That's how Mike O'Shea rolls. They don't abandon their people in the time of struggles. 100%. Even though the fans want you to, they will not. Not now. So that's what, yeah, you're right. That is what they're talking about. And it pisses me off, to be honest with you. But I'm just not the kind of guy anymore that's going to argue with people.
Well, Rod, it shapes up to be a hell of a game. Just thoughts on just how good Trevor Harris has been and the job that the Bomber defense is going to have on their hands to keep that Rider offense with the depth that they have in check. I mean, even drop down a couple of their top receivers, no problem. And that's quite different to what we've seen in Winnipeg, where the offense has been struggling to sort of get going, but finally did, mainly on the ground with Brady Oliveira last week.
Well, if you want to break down, you want to pick a winner, like at Coolbet, Riders are favored by 6 last I saw. And I think
4 now.
Yeah, is it 4? Okay. Well, either way, they're favored by more than a field goal. But you're a far bigger betting guy than me. How much do you figure in last week's game? The fact that the Riders got humiliated in Calgary, to me, is a major factor in how they're going to come out in this one. You talk about, right, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was worried about that, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, you kind of, from a Bomber perspective, you wanted the loss and you get a little closer, but I expect the best of the Riders. I think they'll probably be very focused and be a little choked up. Just on that, do you have any explanation? Like, these teams outside of games against Calgary, the Riders are 8-0 and the Bombers are 6-1. They're 0-5 against the Calgary Stampeders, who have lost twice to Ottawa and once to Montreal. I mean,
that's what doesn't make sense.
The crazy football league for nothing.
Look, it's been the best season of CFL football potentially ever. May I go back to the game notes? 54% of the games, which is a big enough chunk, have been decided in the last 3 minutes. So you talk about who's beaten who and all the rest. Calgary has not lost within the West. For them to go from the last place team in the league, drafting number 1 overall, to the best, I think they are the best team power rankings-wise in the CFL, because they've kicked the crap out of the Riders and Bombers. So that's a whole other story. And that's why, like, you're still the Bomber guy, and I'm not the Rider guy anymore. I don't care whether the Riders win or lose. I don't. I'm happy. And the reason being, I'm a CFL guy. I'm happy for Dave Dickinson that he put his balls on the line. You're talking about balls with Jerry Jones. Dave Dickinson fired 3 longtime coaches last year. That was not easy for him to do. Not easy. And put a target on his back. And look what they've done. The Stamps. So I'm happy for them. But again, to make any generalizations about who's going to win the West or who's going to be in the Grey Cup at Labor Day is a fool's errand, man. It's just going to be unbelievable football, which it always is, over the second half here.
Well, and I mean, listen, if there's one thing that you can also do more often than not is throw the records out at this time of year. I mean, I vividly remember the 2011 game where we rolled into Regina. The Bombers were 7-1 and the Riders were 1-7. And we were like, this is the year we're going to get the Labor Day Classic. And they put up 7 points, lost by 20, lost the Banjo Bowl the next week in Winnipeg, and ended up sort of moonwalking into the playoffs at 10-8 after starting off at 7-1. So you're right. I mean, for both of these teams, these next 2 weeks, going to be absolutely pivotal. I mean, the Riders have done themselves a service that a split pretty much keeps them in a very, very good position. But I'll tell you what, if the Bombers can find a way to win this football game and bring it home and get the job done in the Banjo Bowl, all of a sudden they're ahead of Saskatchewan 10 days from now. So the stakes are really high, Rod. And what's interesting is that you have this Winnipeg, Saskatchewan thing, and now Calgary's all of a sudden barged right into the mix. And it is sort of a 3-horse race. So I can't wait. I mean, it should be a great football game. Both of these teams, have a lot of things going for them. I'd say more so for Saskatchewan right now. But this game and this opponent brings out the best in both of these teams. So it should be great. Hey, while we're talking about Labor Day, or unless you wanted to touch on this game anymore.
Well, just if I may, consider this split if you're trying to put some money on it. Abu says whoever has the most rushing yards team will win the game. Brady Oliveira versus AJ Ouellette. Like, we got a great matchup in Trevor Harris versus Zach Caleros, Corey Mace versus Mike O'Shea. But he thinks the ground game will decide this game. Whoever has the most team rushing yards will win the game. That's what I'm going to be looking for.
Well, I kind of agree on that. I can't really see a path to victory for the Bombers if it's not a big Brady game. And listen, part of the other thing, the Bomber defense has been really stressed this year. The secondary is still kind of iffy. We'll see what Nichols does when he comes back in. But the bottom line for Winnipeg, the best thing that they can do is keep the football and not have the Riders offense out there all day long. And sometimes it's a little boring, but 6 yards on first down, quick, moving the chains, maintaining field possession and field position, I think is going to be big. And to your point about the run game, number 1 and 2 rush defenses in the league as well. So, that defensive line of what happens up front is going to be really big, and it's an absolutely fascinating matchup. I got to talk to you about a guy that you know very well, Cody Fajardo. What have you thought of what Cody's done in Edmonton, getting some life back into that franchise and trying to help sort of fan away the stench of the Chris Jones era?
What have I thought about it? I love Cody Fajardo. What, he got an hour? I could go on about it forever. He's a man of God. He keeps getting kicked in the nuts, and every time he does, he keeps getting up. And he keeps winning every time. Like, he's the Rodney Dangerfield of the CFL. As you can tell by listening to me, we're very close friends. When he got cut in Sask, we talked about it. That was very painful for him. I said, this will, might be rock bottom for you. And for a lot of people, rock bottom is a trampoline. Goes to Montreal, first year, Grey Cup MVP, wins a Grey Cup. Shown the door there. Goes to Edmonton, to the worst team in the league. And I was watching at Mosaic Stadium. I wasn't in the stadium, but when he got sacked 8 times that night, and everybody's at Cody, oh my God, he's only come back and won the last 3. And I'm praying and hoping for him and expecting for them to go into McMahon on Monday and win a game. I had a coach call me in the CFL and go, I know you're a Fajardo lover, but just so you know, our offensive coaches say he can't play. I'm like, well, I don't know. I know what I see. I saw him in the Grey Cup with a game on the line, throwing the game-winning pass to Philpott. Like, I don't know what you guys are seeing. I know what I'm seeing. They just, for whatever reason, everybody's down on him. But not in Edmonton now, obviously, but he's single-handedly bringing back that franchise, and he just lifts everybody up around him. And he is past worrying about what people think. He is the quintessential chip-on-your-shoulder guy. And that's why I'm not the Rider guy anymore. It's nothing I'm anti-Rider, but I just got close friends all around the league that I cheer for. And right now, he'd probably be number 1.
You've been involved in this game for a long time, but listen, he's such a great story. You would think, like, as a Bomber guy, and then that had to watch your team lose on one of the most incredible finishes to a Grey Cup we've seen in recent history, that we couldn't stand the guy. I can't help but cheer for him. And it's such a great story. And listen, the nails that he is in the fourth quarter, let's face it, they should be on a 4-game winning streak. If Julian Grant doesn't drop that pass from Cody perfectly placed, they would have beaten the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and it would be even more interesting in the West. But as good as Calgary's been this year, weird things happen on Labor Day in these rivalry games. I am not counting out Fajardo and the Elks in that game on Monday.
there's a lot of people think that's the game of the week, and people outside Alberta. They're tracking to a bigger crowd for this game than they had last week for the Rider game there. So, okay, he's bringing back CFL football in Alberta. Cody is. So it's good times, man, in the CFL, despite what Luke Wilson says, which we're not going to go down that road. I know I just opened the door on it. But it's pretty hard to argue with what's going on in the way the CFL plays ball.
Yeah, no, listen, it has been a real fun season, and this is the best weekend of the regular season. So buckle up for Sunday and Monday. You mentioned you're finishing up your summer north of the border. Fill us in on what's cooking this, coming up in a week. You'll be heading back down south to your winter residence, still cranking out RP show, and probably getting ready for the Panthers going for a three-peat, and of course Lightning hockey with the hockey coverage.
It's just funny the way I've watched this Battle of Florida rivalry grow, and I posted a story to my website today about John Cooper. You probably saw what he said. Coaching Team Canada is like trying to fine-tune a Ferrari or whatever. And a Panthers fan wrote me, he goes, "I hate that guy." I'm like, okay. But there's a rivalry now between the Panthers and the Lightning, and it's fun. And 5 years ago, Husk, because I've been down there a long time now, there wasn't a rivalry at all. They were wishing each other well in the playoffs when one beat out the other. Now, last spring, I saw fights in the crowd in Tampa when the Panthers won Game 5. So it's like, can we keep a lid on that? But it's a hockey state now. So I'm excited for training camp to open. I'll be there. We do the Cats and Bolts podcast, and they're just a first-class, both are first-class organizations. So I'm excited to get back. I was broadcasting baseball here this summer in Saskatchewan. Had a wonderful summer, but I'm ready to get home.
Hey, just quickly on your Florida destination. I know you're paying close attention to the National Football League. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins going into this season? I got that feeling right now, just from the outside looking in, that this might be a bit of a long season, and I'm not sure if the boy genius Mike McDaniel can make it through another season without a big push forward. But I'm not sure where they've got the horses.
He's on the hot seat index for coach firings, probably top 5. And USA Today, various power rankings or predictions have them at 5 wins and finishing last place in the AFC East. And I don't think you and I have talked since, but last year, before the sun went down on the last game of the season when they missed the playoffs, the Dolphins issued a news release from the owner, Stephen Ross, saying that Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer would be back. And oh my God, were they hot in South Florida. So they're going into the season with heat on them already. And with Tyreek Hill as a leader, they lost a lot in free agency. They're not even as good a team as last year. And they missed the playoffs. So it's not good.
Tyreek Hill is the antithesis of a leader. Hell of a player, incredible athlete, game breaker, but
what they're positive about coming out of the preseason, just to give you an idea, the fans are optimistic about how Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers played in the preseason, because it's when Tua gets hurt, we at least have looks like some quality backups. That's the silver lining and where the Dolphins are at.
Rod, thanks so much for doing this. Keep up the great work on the show. Say what's up to Dupes and the gang, and we'll look forward to doing this again very soon. But before you get on that bird, enjoy Labor Day and the classic between the Bombers and Riders, and a great weekend in the Canadian Football League.
Thanks for calling. Maybe I'll see you this weekend.
I would love to do that. Thanks, pal. There's Rod Pedersen. The RP Show, daily, 11 a.m., YouTube, Game Plus Network. You know where to find them. All right, we are going to have Kenny join us in just a couple of minutes. Thanks again to Rod jumping on. Of course, it'll be a week tomorrow that everyone is back at Princess Auto Stadium for the annual Banjo Bowl, the rematch between the Bombers and Riders. It is already sold out. No surprise about that. Of course, Princess Auto is the proud home and sponsor of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, headquartered and founded right here in Winnipeg, and supporting so many of our sporting organizations. And of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk keeping the conversation going on here on the web. Now, Princess Auto is also where you get the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon. And, of course, you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. A big shout-out to our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. I know they'll be getting off the water tomorrow and heading straight into Molly's to check out the Bombers and Rider game. Of course, it's been a great season, albeit too short at Aikens Lake due to the wildfires, but they're already planning into 2026. If you were looking for a world-class fly-in fishing destination where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens is the spot with world-class fishing and even more world-class hospitality. AikensLake.com for more information on availability for the remainder of this year. Mention WST for a 10% discount and booking well into 2026 as well at AikensLake.com. And hey, I know I gave Connor the business. Well, not really his fault for having to go to a wedding this weekend. But speaking of weddings and getting dressed up, guys, if you need to up your menswear game, there's only one place in Winnipeg to go. And that, of course, is F Apparel, 190 Smith Street downtown, Winnipeg's leader for custom men's clothing. You can get custom suits starting at $400. They'll get you chinos, golf pants, and incredible options for custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, not to mention the best selection of menswear accessories in the city. It's all waiting for you down there. And hey, by the way, if you're getting married or in a wedding party, don't have your wedding on Labor Day during the Bomber Rider game, but also talk to the guys at F Apparel about a great discount for when you and the fellas get your suits done up for the big day at F Apparel. Again, 190 Smith Street. Check them out online and make an appointment to come in for a fitting at F. That's EPHapparel.com. All right. Let's welcome in our good friend, none other than Aces himself, Ken Wiebe. It's been a minute. We were following you at the Tamarack, Ken. A very nice run. You've been everywhere since we last spoke. You've been out to Clear Lake, and then you're out to Calgary. How are you on this beautiful Friday as we head into the final long weekend of summer?
Yeah, Huss, it's always great to be with you. Yes, it's been a bit of a whirlwind here the last 2.5 weeks, but lots of great things on the horizon for sure. As you mentioned, a fun time at the Tamarack. Made her to the semifinals, but couldn't quite get it done against Dylan Hodgson.
What happened in the semi, Ken?
Well, I'll let you guess.
I know the end, but how was the match? Was it closed?
Fun match, yeah. 3-2, lost 3-2, but 3 putt on what was our 15th hole was sort of the nail in my coffin, if you will. Had the door was open, and then I 3-putted from about 15 feet. That would have pulled me within 2, and on the next hole, my opponent hit into the trees. So unfortunately, the putter got in the way a bit, but super fun run. And it was just a great time out at Clear Lake. The event was run excellently as always, and got to see a lot of great people, including my pal and old college roommate, Kevin Pratt, the producer of the TSN broadcast. Got to see him out there, and it was just a tremendous time. And since that time, we've had a couple of better putting days out there too, Huss, in the mix. So that was awesome. And then too, just fortunate enough, interesting timing. I was heading down to Calgary to see a buddy who's getting married next weekend. We had some golf on the horizon, and then Team Canada dropped their orientation camp into our lap, but made the most of it, snuck in a couple of rounds and got some good work done, and had some great conversations with Josh Morrissey. With that story ran, as you know, Huss, and great chat with Winnipegger Katie Tabin, who is one of the hopefuls for the Olympic women's side on the back end after a couple of great years. Just an incredible story, Huss. Person who had to quit hockey twice and now finds herself in the mix among the best defenders in the PWHL, and has a legit shot of making Team Canada here. And the other one too, I was able to speak with Mark Scheifele, Huss. That's going to go up later this afternoon here, fairly shortly after I just filed the story. So can't get into it too much before it goes up, but Mark was definitely very emotional and in speaking for the first time about his father's passing, and I appreciated that he was willing to go deep on what is such a sensitive and emotional subject for him.
It's funny you bring that up, Kenny, because we've had this summer and everything. We're talking Bombers, and there was what's happening with Velarde and all that. We get into the minutia of everything, but it did dawn upon me when I was thinking about the guys being at the orientation camp, and I got thinking about training camp, and then thinking about the home opener. And we were originally talking about, okay, well, how are they going to introduce Jonathan Toews? Will he be back? The Toews introduction is going to be something that I think people will remember. But then I started remembering this is going to be the first time for Winnipeg and Winnipeg Jet fans to welcome Mark back after one of the gutsiest performances we've ever seen in, I would suggest, Winnipeg sports history, in Game 6 of that series against the Dallas Stars. And I know a lot of things can kind of go out of your mind. We live in a social media recency bias, bang, bang, bang. But Mark returning to the Winnipeg Jets and starting out this new season, after everything that he went through the playoffs and the way things ended, I think is going to be maybe as memorable as Toews returning to the NHL in his hometown.
Yeah, Huss, it's a great point, and that's what I said. I mean, you go into those interviews, you're not really sure what you're going to get, and how comfortable is Mark going to be. We know he hasn't spoken about it since the season ended, and that day was just such a whirlwind for him. And now he's hustling off to the funeral arrangements and trying to be with his family because he was in Dallas when the news came down. And it just was such an emotional thing for Mark. And like I said, I feel fortunate that he was willing to share with me. And I know that the support that he's felt, from this community in Winnipeg that has become his second home since he was an 18-year-old and, full-time since he was a 20-year-old. But the city means a lot to him. The province means a lot to him, the fan base, the organization, all of those things. And he was just blown away by the support from around the hockey community and how that helped him, push through what has been a very difficult time. And Huss, as you mentioned, I mean, if there had been a Game 7, you can imagine what the response and the reception would have been like. But as you know, Winnipeggers and Manitobans being, as wear your heart on their sleeves as they are, I do think that it's going to be an emotional return, and to some degree as well for Scheifele. And quite frankly, Huss, I mean, from the conversation with him, I think he's looking forward to getting back into the hockey routine because, when you're dealing with something like this, there's no playbook. As someone who's lost a parent, I mean, it's just an incredibly difficult thing to go through at any age, and no matter what the circumstances are. But, to try to do that as a, high performance athlete, that's also brings with it its own set of challenges. And Huss, we talked about it all of last year. We know that Mark had the disappointment of being so close to being on that Four Nations face-off roster, but ultimately not getting that injury opportunity. That he is incredibly motivated to be on that Canadian Olympic team in Italy coming up in February. So we saw a very determined Mark Scheifele last year and putting up exceptional numbers, 39 goals, 87 points, and then the 11 points in 11 playoff games. But again, I think there's an emotional component that will come into this season for him as well. And I just think that he said it himself. He's looking forward to being around the guys, getting back to Winnipeg in early September here, and just getting into that day-to-day routine. He's had a great summer of training, worked on, the usual, working on things with Adam Oates. And he's really been able to benefit Huss both on and off the ice from being around Calgary. Josh Morrissey is one of his best friends, as we know, and he went through something similar, and they've really had each other to kind of lean on throughout the course of the summer, both on and off the ice. And Josh told me too the other day that it's pushed both of them to be even better. And these guys don't ever lack motivation, but I think that quest for the Stanley Cup and the lessons learned in last year's playoff disappointment, coupled with all the emotional stuff that happened around it, I think it's going to lead to something that there'll be lots happening in the orbit here for the Jets coming up on the new season here.
Did he spend the majority of the season in Calgary after everything was taken care of? And that's sort of where he's at. I guess a few of the Jets, Adam Lowry, I think he spends a lot of time out in Calgary as well.
Yeah, you bet, Huss. I mean, obviously, he's been back to Kitchener to spend time with his mom as well. I mean, obviously, knowing what the difficulty that what she's gone through this summer, but yeah, he spent the bulk of his time, I think, in Calgary. Obviously, I mean, from talking with Eric Comrie, they had the trip to Ireland, the golf trip with those guys in Morrissey and a group of friends that they were on. But yeah, he spent a ton of time in Calgary. His wife is competing in equestrian again. Huss, I think a lot of people saw that story on CP. On that front, and she's really enjoyed that aspect and done well with it. But yeah, Mark's enjoyed the time in Calgary, and again, I know one of the big things from earlier this week was the Adam Lowry news, Huss, and I asked Mark about that. I said, was he as surprised as everybody else? And he said, no, I've been talking to Adam pretty regularly and seeing him, and he knew it was coming. He just didn't know when. And again, we don't know what that means in the grand scheme of things quite yet, but obviously, that was an important step in the recovery process.
Sure was good to see.
It's just 3 months out of the gate, where we were kind of wondering if it might be late November, and hey, maybe it still will be. But I think the option of it happening earlier in November than most people thought, barring no setbacks, was probably another one of those developments from this week here.
That's a good thing for the Winnipeg Jets. All right, well, listen, we'll wait with bated breath for your Scheif piece as we do all of your content in the Winnipeg Free Press. But just on Scheifele for a minute,
yeah.
I just this upcoming season, I think about last year, and we talked a lot about the possibility of being on Team Canada, the start the team had, him being overlooked. And if you recall, I mean, the 2 months of the regular season after Scheifele was not named to the team, he was in FU mode. Frick you, that would be for Mark.
Indeed.
Like, he was right there with the top scorers in the National Hockey League, Ken, from talking with him and just knowing him and knowing the scene. I mean, how motivated do you think Mark is going to be, not only to help his team win and stay, very competitive in the Central Division, but on a personal level, take his game to the absolute height that it needs to be to potentially get the honor of wearing the Canadian jersey at the Olympic Games with the world's best?
Yeah, for sure, Huss. It's that whole everything happens for a reason kind of mantra that you hear about all the time. And of course, you would have loved to have been part of that Four Nations roster that won the gold medal. But I think there's even more intrinsic motivation to be part of the Olympic team. I mean, anytime you wear Team Canada's jersey, it's special. But I mean, the Olympics are kind of the pinnacle. And that's something that Josh spoke very openly about when I chatted with him on Wednesday as well. So, but again, as you know, like with Mark, everything kind of runs on parallel tracks, where obviously team first, but he also knows that he's such a big driver on this team that when he is performing well, especially at both ends of the ice, the Jets have a better team to be successful as a team. And again, in that same conversation I had with him, as excited he is about the prospect of the Olympics, ultimate goal for him is still the Stanley Cup. And, he still has that great belief that the Jets are on the right path and that there will be lessons learned from the last year's exit against the Dallas Stars, which was obviously more emotional for him than usual. But yeah, I think that it's funny. Every year we think, well, Scheifele has to have hit his ceiling now. He's north of 30, but then we think of how he takes care of his body and his preparation and, all the things that he does with Adam Oates, the off ice and his dedication. And then you wonder, oh, well, the other year it was 43 goals. Well, okay, well, now it's 39. I mean, I just put it this way. I don't think Mark Scheifele is done becoming a better player at 32 years old, quite frankly. And yes, we know Father Time is undefeated, but I think that the combination of the emotional stuff he went through, plus the wanting to be on Team Canada and wanting to win a Stanley Cup, which has always been the driving force for him, I think we're going to see an exceptional season from both Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey, just in the conversations that I had with him this week in Calgary, Huss.
What was the, I mean, you were kind of there talking to the guys. I mean, what did you find out about what they're actually doing? And I mean, what's it like for those guys to get together with that, group of Canadian all-stars, many legends, knowing that, listen, most of the time they're around the team here. They're the guys with the established veterans, all-stars in the NHL, leaders on their team and letters on their chests. It's a lot different when, kind of feels like you're back to probably like the minor hockey days when everyone's coming from around the province and you're trying to make some all-star team, but this is the greatest all-star team on the planet.
Yeah, it's a great point, Huss. And so, I mean, just to give folks an idea who either weren't paying as close attention or whatever else, so that there was only one avail with the players from all men's, women, and Paralympic teams, and it was kind of pretty condensed segments. So you could either try to get a one-on-one or be part of the scrum that included Crosby, McDavid, and Sam Reinhart. So I missed out on all of the McDavid contract stuff because I was out talking individually with Josh, Morrissey, and Mark. So again, I got a sense and watched it, what happened and everything else. But just to set the scene, Huss. So I'm in the hallway talking, first with Katie Tabin and then with Josh and then finished with Mark. But just the people rolling through, like you're wandering, or this area is obviously blocked off to the public, but the players themselves, to see the reactions from women's Olympic team players and Paralympic team players, and then to hear them talk about just casually, there's Sid or there's McDavid, like these people all are very supportive of one another in the programs, but it's still kind of awe-inspiring to especially some of the younger players who are coming into the program. And Katie Tabin is a great example, Huss. I mean, she hasn't been in a Hockey Canada environment since 2018 when she was part of a development program. I mean, for someone who's 28, that's a long time. And, for people who didn't see my story, Katie quit hockey at the end of her university career at Quinnipiac because she took a job in the real world because there wasn't really the PWHL opportunity. And then she had a chance to go with the Connecticut Whale and ran into some visa issues, then quit again and went to work for the Rink Hockey Academy. And then now she's an Olympic hopeful after 2 great seasons in the PWHL with Montreal. So, it's just interesting to hear other people talk about, and not just the women or the Paralympians. I mean, when you hear Macklin Celebrini and guys like that talk about the golden goal, I mean, it gets so interesting. My pal Wes Gilbertson wrote about Celebrini's, you and I were of age to easily remember, but Macklin Celebrini was 4 years old when Crosby scored the golden goal in Vancouver.
Come on.
So, no, it's ridiculous, right? To think of, right? So he told Wes a great story about how he's playing street hockey, but like you and I, the memory is vivid, Huss, especially because I had got to Vancouver and was at the semifinal and was at the women's gold. But Macklin's was 4 years old, 4. And now he's an NHL, uprising star. So it's cool to see, people are wearing the Canada gear and, again, not to go too inside baseball, but, everyone's wandering around, it's vintage hurry up and wait scenario. And then all of a sudden everything's happening at once. And, you're looking around the corner and, there's Sidney Crosby sitting, and John Cooper just like casually comes up and sits down on the bench beside him to say, what's up? And, how's the summer been? It just kind of, and again, I'm not sitting around eavesdropping, but I just caught a portion of it as I was walking somewhere. But it's just and it's interesting to hear how people speak with such reverence about Crosby, Huss, right? I mean, for us, we talk about, and we remember Sid at 17 when he was in Manitoba with that incredible World Junior team that trained here, went to Gimli, went to Grand Forks, won a gold medal, domination station 41-6 in those games. But now he's the elder statesman, but he's not just the elder statesman hanging around because it's cool to hang around. He's still an elite player. So when you see how these guys talk about him with reverence, but like also are pushed by him, it's so interesting to see kind of that dynamic. And again, my focus was on the local lads, and I didn't even have a chance, us, because the window was so finite. I didn't even get a chance to speak with Travis Sanheim or Mark Stone or Seth Jarvis, which, again, we were fortunate enough. Mike caught up with Seth when he rolled through, and I talked to Mark Stone about his experience. But just with unfortunate circumstances, we didn't ever got a chance to speak with Travis Sanheim because when he rolled into town, it was on the tail end of a back-to-back. So I would have liked to have been able to speak with him, but we'll look forward to doing that early in the season. But it's just such an interesting dynamic. And I mean, we would have loved the opportunity to see some of these guys on the ice, right? I mean, that's the other thing. We can't wait. Yes, we saw it at Four Nations, but I mean, we've never seen these guys. Now the next thing is, best on best is back. What's it going to look like at the Olympics, right? So, and that was sort of one of the talking points the day after. I mean, Eric Francis was asking, are they expecting the same fireworks that we saw from Canada USA in the round robin now? Even though now I think it's being played under double IHF rules, right? So we're not expecting 5 or 6 fights, but you just don't know what to expect because it's the first time we've seen Olympic participation with best on best since 2014.
Yeah, I mean, it's so exciting. You mentioned Celebrini. Bedard was there, I believe.
Yeah, Bedard was there too, and I mean, but he just wasn't speaking. So it was the 3 guys at the podium, and then I think maybe a handful of guys did one-on-ones, but it wasn't Stanley Cup final-esque, but there was a lot of interest. I mean, we went to the Avail not knowing if there would be 3 or 4 people or if there would be 20, and a lot of the big guns were there in terms of the media folks, and it generated a ton of interest, and obviously people talking about it throughout the week at a time where Olympics they're close, but I mean, before the NHL season starts, you're just not quite sure what kind of buzz is out there. But when you get the big guns in the industry, out there to check things out, there's going to be lots of storylines and lots of interest, and it's great to see. And one of the other things to come out of there, and Elliot Friedman, our friend and colleague, was talking about, it's never been done where Canada's nobody's ever won all 3 medals in hockey. So. Obviously, Team Canada's goal is to win men's, women's, and Paralympic gold, but it'll be interesting to sort of monitor as that rolls along. And again, I've gone this long. I should mention also Jocelyn The Rock, and the only reason I didn't speak with her this week, is because Mike McIntyre caught up with her at the end of the season. But speaking of veterans and people who have carried the torch for a long time, Jocelyn had an outstanding year in the PWHL and is also expected to be on that Team Canada. And Katie Taven talked so much about how, for her, as someone who's kind of newer to the program, but how the Manitobans support each other so well over the years, someone she looks up to, and looking forward to getting on the ice together with her as well.
Jocelyn has been a mainstay on the Team Canada blue line for well over a decade right now. And, I was interesting. I saw your piece about Katie Taben in the Freep, and I was kind of going down. I'm like, oh, wait a second. What's up with Jocelyn The Rock? Is she still doing it? Yeah, she's still doing it. Top player in the PWHL, and, still representing Manitoba and St. Anne in not only the pros, but also on the Olympic Games. Do you have any, Ken? It is just about September. While we're on this topic, do you have any spicy Olympic roster takes right now you'd like to put out there right now? A guy that you think is going to be on the team, or maybe you're a very positive guy. I'm sure you're not going to say there's no way this guy makes the team, but
right.
Like the reason why I bring up Bedard, I probably don't think he'll be there. I was very surprised that he didn't go to the World Championships. I thought that was a terrible move for him. Not having the opportunity. I mean, you got Crosby, you got McKinnon, and Celebrini. It seems like Celebrini's maybe past him, at least as far as chances to make that team. But, of the guys that are there, some of the people that maybe weren't involved in Four Nations, is there a guy or two that you think maybe we should keep an eye on that could very well be a player and a factor for Canada when the tournament gets there?
Sure, Huss. I mean, I'm not ready for any spice. I do think that Mark Scheifele is going to be there. And as you know, my colleague and podcast partner, Sean Reynolds, was very much ahead of the Scheifele for Four Nations train, even though it didn't work out for him. I think his play ultimately probably warranted it. So I do think that he'll be there. I don't even think that that's a spicy take, though, Huss. So I think,
What about Celebrini?
People that we've seen, I think Celebrini is a really great player and emerging, Huss, but my problem with banging on the table and saying Celebrini is that we watched Robert Thomas in the first round. I mean, no offense to Macklin Celebrini, but I don't see Macklin Celebrini being ahead of Robert Thomas. And Robert Thomas wasn't on the Four Nations team either, and neither was Scheifele. So in order for Celebrini to be on it, he would have to jump over both of those players most likely. And again, I am not saying it can't happen. I have trouble seeing that scenario transpiring right now. And again, speaking of people that we saw firsthand, and this is not remember this, Jets fans, because they do. The guy that scored the series clincher, I see him taking on a really big role with Team Canada here. Thomas Harley, did a great job when he jumped into the lineup when Cale Makar missed with the crazy virus. But I think that Harley's probably going to be on, third pairing at minimum here. And I know there's a lot of Evan Bouchard, folks banging the drum for him, and, great offensive player. But I think that Harley is definitely, they play the opposite side, but I would think that there's a better chance that Harley is playing a big role on Team Canada than Evan Bouchard is. Bouchard may be on the team, but I think Harley's going to be a guy that, we saw it firsthand, and I think that he's sort of on that nice ascension climb right now. Again, just
and the Canadian experience
6'4"
means
guy
something.
that can skate like just ridiculous, right? This way his skating ability and how his defending has improved. I just think that Harley is a guy that I think is going to take on a big role. I think we're still going to see Morrissey and Colton Parayko together, Huss. But I think you're going to see Harley and like someone like Harley and Shea Theodore or something like that could be a really excellent pairing for Team Canada coming up.
On Harley for a minute, by the same token that I think Bedard really did not do himself any favors when it comes to this team in the near future, but maybe beyond, by not going to the World Championships. Thomas Harley coming off of vacation, showing up as an extra, and then playing the way he did in the Four Nations. There's no player in the NHL that took more advantage of a unique opportunity when it comes to Team Canada brass and the decision makers than what that young man did last February.
Yeah, outstanding. And the thing with Harley, Huss, and again, we saw it firsthand, but it was leading up to that with Heiskanen's injury, with that wild collision with Mark Stone. Like, Harley was playing number one D-man minutes that were previously unavailable to him for multiple months leading into the playoffs, and his game really took off. And we saw it with our own eyes in the building with how great he played, and we saw it. You saw it with your own eyes out on the trail with Four Nations. But man, he's just done an exceptional job. And again, Bedard is a guy who's he's a rising star also, Huss, but right now he needs to round out his game. He's more of a one-dimensional player on a bad team. And we've seen this over the years for Team Canada. You need to be able to handle both ends of the rink, which is, again, why Mark Scheifele's two-way improvements have him in the discussion. Robert Thomas, two-way player, right? Wyatt Johnston had a tough series against the Jets, obviously, but he's a guy that brings a two-way game to the table every day. And Celebrini, he has a better two-way game right now than Bedard, but again, it's not as polished as some of the other players we're talking about right here. So I'm going to need a few more weeks before we get any spicy takes, but that's sort of, those would be two forwards that weren't on the team for me, Thomas and Scheifele, that I would expect to be very much in the mix for things. And again, I also think that, Zach Hyman, we saw the loss of Hyman meant, his injury meant for Edmonton in the Stanley Cup final. And again, not trying to be a nosy reporter, but Hyman still was wearing a brace this week in Calgary. So again, I don't know what that means for his training camp availability, which is only a couple weeks down the road here. But I think it looks like he's still on the mend also, Huss. So, but I do think that, with how well he played in the playoffs, he has sort of put that last season's sort of goal scoring slump very much behind him. And he'll be very much in that winger mix as well here.
Where are you swinging it on the Labor Day long weekend?
Saturday morning with Kevin O at Beauty Bay, I believe, Huss. So it was a good stretch of golf here the last while for sure. Yes. Yeah, heading out to see Kevin O at Lake of the Woods while you get on the bus to Regina, and it was a fun week in Calgary, Huss. Super fortunate. Was able to play Mickelson National on Tuesday and played Pritis Greens with Derek Wills and company yesterday. So a couple of really great. Two of Canada's finest, Huss. So two great tracks to play, and we're getting close to camp time, and buckling down. It was a good week of work, but nice to sneak in a few more tour stops before we get really thick into the heart of the season here. And I know you talked about it earlier in the week, but also was keeping tabs from afar. Tough for the folks at Breezy that the weather impacted the way that it did, but sounded like the 2 days of golf that were played were very well received, and the guys did such a great job getting the golf course ready after the tough circumstances. So kudos to them.
Yeah, where the hell was this weather last week when we really needed it the one time all year long? It was a shame to lose those 2 days, but the course, the team, everyone did an amazing job on that. Wiebe, I'm giving Kevin O, 20 strokes in your matchup.
He's
good
improving
luck.
us. I don't know if he can get 20. I'm not sure if I can beat him
Well, I
by
mean,
20.
listen,
but,
you're
I'll do my
battle
best.
tested. You're just coming out of the Tamarack and playing all these big deal courses out in Alberta. So anyway, say hi to Kevin O. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, great to be with you. Have an awesome long weekend as well. And I meant to say last week, stick taps or golf claps for Rhonda Orr for a 12th Manitoba women's senior title. The big title for her, and for Todd Fanning for completing the career slam there in Manitoba. That was a fun event to cover out at Glendale there a couple weeks back.
Beautiful, Kenny. Good stuff, pal. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, great to be with you as always. Huss, every
All right,
weekend.
there's Ken, Winnipeg Free Press. Check out that Scheifele article dropping hopefully very soon for all of you Jet fans. All right, hey, getting ready for the Labor Day weekend Bomber game. Head on down to Royal Sports for the best in Bomber gear. Hockey season for the Jets. They've got it all coming in as we get closer. But of course, for hockey players, one stop at Royal Sports will get you all set up for the upcoming season, the ultimate hockey superstore in town for over 50 years. Get ready to drop the puck at Royal. Of course, NFL gear coming in and so much more as we get closer to fall. Check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Big tent sale coming up after Labor Day. And of course, 750 Pembina Highway is where you need to know and where you need to go to get ready for hockey season at Winnipeg's #1 hockey superstore, Royal Sports. Big J series getting going tonight. And of course, 3 big Labor Day weekend games in the Canadian Football League. Getting together with the gang, head on down to your local Boston Pizza Lounge. Enjoy those ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas. And of course, if you are staying at home, you get it hot, fresh to your door any day you want by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right. We have a very special guest coming up in just a moment. It is a bit of a non-sports interview, and it is Steve O. Yes, of Jackass fame. So we're going to have that right in a minute. Before we do, though, go to Steve O. Many of you out to Regina on the weekend, you might want to pick up a little brown jug to take with you. Of course, Manitoba's favorite local brewery. We'll give them a big shout out, Little Brown Jug, and then welcome Steve O into Winnipeg Sports Talk before we get to the NFL Notebook with Lee Hacksaw Hamilton.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right. This was a very cool opportunity. Remus and I a little earlier got a chance to catch up with Jackass legend Steve O, who's on his way to Winnipeg for a big show on September 19th, September 20th in Brandon. Here is Steve O on WST. All right, this is going to be fun. You know, considering the amount over the years of professional athletes and wrestlers that we've had on the program, I still don't think anyone has taken more hits than our next guest. He is the legendary stuntman, comedian, member of the Jackass crew, and he's coming to town for the Crash and Burn Tour September 19th at the Burt. What a pleasure to welcome in the legendary Steve O to WST. Steve, what's happening?
Well, I'm hanging tough, man. I guess it's not a day off. I got a show tonight in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm spending the day at the Woodward Action Sports Compound.
Love it. So out in Utah right now, continuing this tour, and obviously action sports, something that you've been connected with for well over 2.5 to 25 years, basically, since it all got going. Listen,
it's actually been at this point, since I made my first video, I learned how to edit to make my first skateboard video. over 35 years ago now.
And anyone that is familiar with any of the videos knows that I'm not kidding when I say I don't think there's anyone on planet Earth maybe that has put themselves through more self-inflicted abuse than you. How are you alive right now and even able to do this interview and this upcoming tour?
Yeah, it's a great question, man. And I've had people ask me, when I wake up in the morning getting out of bed, am I just in so much pain? Do I have like persistent injuries? And I'm actually surprisingly in good shape. I mean, my neck has what's called degenerative disc disease. It's not at a point that's debilitating or painful. I've got a condition in my esophagus called Barrett's esophagus, which is something you got to keep an eye on because it tends to turn into throat cancer or esophageal cancer. Other than those two things, and a lot of fake teeth and terrible tattoos, I'm really in pretty great shape, and I attribute that to staying active. I think that in the long run, what really gets more people is inactivity rather than activity. And I move my body quite a bit, so I think that's been more of a saving grace than a hindrance.
You were also living a sober lifestyle now, as opposed to the exact opposite of that earlier on. How did you do that? How difficult was it, and how different is your life now? Because as anyone that was familiar with the content before, there was pretty much nothing off limits back in the day.
Oh, there's nothing off limits now either. It's just a question of not being intoxicated. How difficult? What was difficult was continuing the way that I was going. I just reached an end. I hit a wall, and I was fortunate to have my my Jackass buddies step in and stage an intervention, which somehow, by the grace of God, worked. And I've been clean and sober ever since for the last 17 years.
I know I want to get Remus in here in a sec to talk to you more about some of the work that you guys have done. But you mentioned that Jackass crew, and I mean, a legendary bunch of dudes doing some of the craziest stuff that's ever been done. How did that change your life? I mean, what do you think about the legacy of all of that and where it's led you to right now?
I think that what we did with Jackass was culturally significant. The media has changed so much since we started. Like I said, 35 years ago, I made my first video. And at that time, the video camera was simply not a household item. Even when Jackass started 25 years ago, the video camera was not a household item. There wasn't video footage playing on the internet. They didn't have YouTube. For me to get noticed, I had to, duplicate video cassette tapes and walk to the post office to mail them. There just wasn't that much noise to rise up against, or to rise above. Everything's changed so much in that time. It's hard to, it's hard to imagine what my life would have been like without Jackass. I was sometimes wonder if I was born 20 years later and everybody had a video camera in their pocket when I was trying to first get noticed. Would I have been able to make it? And I genuinely believe that I'm such a persistent son of a bitch that I would have found a way to get noticed. But it's hard to imagine that I would have been as lucky as I was being born when I was.
It's a great question because in the nature of, the way technology has changed everything, and people going viral, you guys basically you went viral first. And you went viral via television. I mean, through MTV. And I mean, that level of the viral nature of that wasn't just you were everywhere for one day. It kept going for a long time and kept to grow because there was no one else doing what you were doing.
Right. And at the time, there was a substantial barrier to entry for video production, particularly television and film. At the time you had the real world, the reality television was in its infancy, but even then it was, like real production companies doing it. There just wasn't a way to make a career. There wasn't a precedent for making a career with a home video camera at the time. And what's crazy is that I was dropping out of college in 1993, and I proclaimed that I was going to make a career as a crazy stuntman with my home video camera at a time when there was no precedent for that. And I just didn't have a plan B.
Hey, I want to bring Remus in here. We were kind of chuckling before we had you on, talking about, the sports nature. I mean, wrestling stuff and then hockey stuff. Remo, why don't you come in and kind of tee up some of the stuff that some of our listeners, if they'd missed it, would be interested in getting to?
Yeah, Steve-O, it's been an incredible career that you've had. I remember watching back in the early 2000s when Jackass came out. I mean, what impresses you the most about your own longevity here? Over, as you mentioned, editing video for 35 years.
It's such a funny way to phrase the question. What impresses you most about you? I mean, that's the kind of question that I would just eat up. But what I would attribute the longevity of the Jackass franchise to is sporadic releases. That there was just 4 movies. The first movie came out in 2002, and there were 4 years of hiatus in between the first 3 movies, and then there was a full 10 years of hiatus between the third and fourth. And so that's what allowed it to be stretched out the way that it was. And I just go back to me being persistent in between every movie, even if I was going largely in the wrong direction, and while in trouble with substances, I was always hustling, man. I was hustling in the wrong direction for a number of years, and then I got clean and sober and figured out how to hustle in the right direction. But I've been very active on my own, and everything that I've done throughout, everything that worked, I've built on it and figured out how to do it better. And that's why I'm so excited about coming to Winnipeg, because what I'm coming with now is ultimately going to be my 4th comedy special. And the evolution of my live comedy is utterly outrageous. In the beginning, it was just me and a microphone and whatever might happen on stage. Then on the second one, the second comedy special, I had the idea to edit footage of the stories I was telling into the special in post so that it would be a multimedia affair. And that worked spectacularly well. Then on the third one, I really wanted to stop telling stories that happened a long time ago and bring the multimedia component on the road. So I set about filming all new stuff to create new material and have a multimedia tour. And that worked fantastically well. And now this one is the follow-up to the bucket list tour, which is my last thing I was in Winnipeg with. This show is utterly outrageous, man. Like I told you guys before we started, it's like an extra naughty Jackass movie collides with a stand-up comedy show. And when I say extra naughty, I mean, like, I flagrantly break laws filming all the exclusive material from my live comedy show. I really, really go out of my way to do things that I would not be allowed to do for Jackass, so that when people come to my show, they know they're going to see all kinds of stuff that they could not see anywhere else.
How do you prepare for all this? And like, where does this take place? How much work goes into it before you get to the Peg and welcome everyone into the Bird on the 19th?
Oh my God. I've been like working on this show tirelessly for the last 2 years. And, you know, like, admittedly, I started touring this show too soon. Like, I took an approach where I would workshop material, you know, kind of figure it out as I went. And, man, it's like the last solid year, I've been scrambling and hustling to make this show awesome. And I've finally really got it there. You know, people who follow me on YouTube and stuff, you'll see that I have not put out a YouTube video in so long because it's all just been working on this show. And, you know, I would have said that back in April, you know, I really, really had it dialed in. It was the April when I came through Eastern Canada in April. That was badass. I'm not going to discount that, but now it's just that much better.
The show is Winnipeg, Friday night, perfect night to go out and spend, kick off the weekend with Steve-O at the Burt, and then hitting Brandon as well the next day on Saturday the 20th. So for you folks and listeners out in Westman that want to take in the Crash and Burn tour, it will be in your neck of the woods on Saturday, September 20th. Steve-O, this has been a lot of fun. Just for folks that might not be, like, they've heard of Jackass, but maybe they couldn't handle watching it at that point, but that are thinking about coming in to take in your comedy and everything about it. I mean, what do they need to know about September 19th down at the Burt?
I mean, here's what I would say is that if anybody's interested in what this multimedia format looks like, my last 2 comedy specials were both in this multimedia format, both outrageously inappropriate, filled with illegal activity. I mean, like, you got to click to say you're over 18 to watch it, but you can watch it absolutely for free and with no ads on the front page of my website, which is stevo.com. The last one was, like, frankly, like, triple X rated. It was fully pornographic. So that you know, click that to say you're over 18 is a very important legal formality.
Are you speaking of legal formalities? Have you has this been a clean tour? When was the last time you got in any sort of trouble, and was it all related to the show?
You know, I've been fortunate. Brushes with the law. I just haven't gotten caught. I haven't gotten caught doing illegal stuff. But yeah, you know, that's the thing. When I say I break the laws, like, I feel very strongly about, you know, like, if you're gonna break a rule, you got to be willing to face the consequences. You know, like, it's just like that. The natural law of cause and effect is at play, and I break rules very deliberately, very consciously, and I'm able to reconcile that behavior with the spiritual path that I'm on.
Well, we're looking forward to taking it all in. Burton Cummings Theater, September 19th, Friday night. We're going to be there. We're going to send a few listeners as well. And folks, if you want to grab your tickets right now, go to stevo.com, front page, the Crash and Burn Tour. You got Winnipeg tickets, Brandon tickets. You can jump on those as well. Steve, keep it straight over the next few weeks. We want to see you here in Winnipeg. You be well, and I can't wait to see you at the show. Thanks so much for doing this today.
Hey, get a load of this, too. They got to let me into Canada because I got a Canadian passport.
That's right. Come home. Come home, Steve.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, thank you so much, guys.
Hey, our pleasure. We'll see you in the Peg on the 19th. Be well.
Yeah, right on, brother.
All right, there. That was fun hooking up with Steve. Oh yeah, that shows the 19th of September, and we will have some tickets to give away on the program. So make sure to stay tuned to WST over the next couple of weeks for that. Hey, big baseball weekend. Jason Brewer's going at it. Big baseball weekend down at the ballpark. It is the final week of the regular season for the Winnipeg Goldeyes, who did win their final road game, or I guess that was 2 days ago. They ended up dropping their final road game yesterday, 5-4 after that 3-1 win. But they're back to take on Sioux City starting tonight, 4-game series. Tonight's the final fireworks night of the year. It should be a blast, pardon the pun. And, of course, tomorrow's the player card giveaway, and then the full team autograph session and fan appreciation day on Sunday. Final game of the year, Labor Day Monday. Thanks for a great season, Winnipeg Goldeyes. And, folks, if you are kicking around here, we got gorgeous summer weather. No better time than now to get out to the ballpark one more time this year to see the fish. Of course, our friends at Breezy Bend just getting back to normal after the hosting the Manitoba Open. It was too bad, as Ken mentioned, that we didn't have a chance to get the full 4 rounds in, just so more people in Manitobans can see the incredible transformation of the golf course and the clubhouse over the last number of years. But take it from me, just an absolutely incredible golfing home. And if you're thinking about maybe making Breezy your golfing home for next year, for you and your family, get in touch with our pal Corey Johnson at the clubhouse, or go online to breezybend.ca. Of course, they had a waiting list this year, but I would imagine that now is a great time, if you're already thinking about 2026, to get in touch with Corey over at Breezy Bend. And we'll get through the weekend and then right back at it at the track on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week at Assiniboia Downs. We'll have Tuesday and Wednesday racing all the way into October, an extra Monday race date on September 15th. And don't forget, Wednesdays throughout the month are ladies' night with best hat contests and some other great treats for all you females if you want to do a girls' night out at the track. Find out more online at AssiniboiaDowns.com. And, of course, ASD YouTube channels where you can watch it all happen. We'll see you Tuesday out at Assiniboia Downs. All right, we're going to have Hacksaw come on. We'll get into... I'll let you know when Marble's registration is open, but we'll do that right away. But let's get to the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray just before we bring in Hacksaw. And that is very simple. It's the annual Friday going into Labor Day question. Can the Bombers pull it off and win another Labor Day Classic on the road as underdogs? Give us your game predictions for the why not question of the day in the chat right now. And again, keep an eye out for when Marble's registration is open. Let's and by the way, Adam, you can do that anytime that you want. But first up, let's get Lee Hacksaw Hamilton into the show. Hacksaw, what's going on? How are you?
Hustler, I've interviewed a lot of people doing sports talk radio and TV interviews, and I don't think I've stepped across the line like you just stepped across the line. You just better make sure that when you open the door to go home, that there's not somebody from ICE, the immigration people, standing outside your front door. That was unique and that was novel.
You know, I just said only on this program could we do a transition from Ken Wiebe to Steve-O right into the NFL notebook with you on a Friday. But, hey, it's a big day. We're going into the Labor Day long weekend. We had to get it all in, and that was fun, but it's great to have you on the program. Listen, Lee, let's just get right to it. An earthquake in the National Football League yesterday. We just finished the program, and I got the notification. Well, first I got a text. I'm like, that can't be real. I checked it again. Oh, my God. Micah Parsons actually got traded, and he didn't just get traded. He got traded to the Green Bay Packers, the team that ended the Cowboys season 3 separate times in the last 10 years in the playoffs. How in the world did it come to this, Lee? And what do you make of this massive trade shaking up the NFC right before the season starts?
Well, Jerry Jones created this drama or as I call it, trauma. I just don't think the Cowboys survived this. You know, Dallas has built this thing, this organization, and has done a good job in the draft. And they've signed a lot of players, and they've paid their stars. And all of a sudden, they had 3 straight 12-win seasons, Hustler. And I thought they're on the brink of maybe being a Super Bowl team again. Last year they were devastated by injuries, from Dak Prescott to virtually the entire defense. They got everybody back healthy, and I thought, okay, they take a step back, and now they're ready to go forward because everybody's healthy, and you got the contract dispute. And now Jerry trades the catalyst of the defense. Now, granted, it was an enormous amount of salary cap money that would have been allocated had he paid Micah Parsons what Green Bay paid Micah Parsons. But at the end of the day, he has less of a team now than he's ever had before, and I think he's taken a step back from being great. I mean, Dallas, devastated on defense last year by injuries. Parsons was the only legitimacy they had. They've gone through a lot of transition and changeover, veterans out the door, injuries having to do with some of that, trades with some of that, and they let Parsons go. Now, you can screech and yell, well, he got a defensive tackle back. I understand that. That's a 29-year-old defensive tackle who come in and play, but you lost your pass rusher. Yeah, he got 2 number 1 picks. But if Green Bay's a Super Bowl team, Hustler, those Packer first-round picks are at the bottom of the first round. He's got a lot of cap space. Here's the ancillary problem, though. The player agents around the NFL are furious at what Jerry Jones did to one of their members by circumventing Micah Parsons' agent through this entire process and insulting him along the way. So now Dallas has got less of a defense, probably late first-round picks coming, an aging defensive tackle in the deal, and they've pissed off a lot of player agents who say, I don't care how much cap space you go. I don't think I'm taking my guy to Dallas. Look what you just did to your star player. So I mean, I don't see how it's a win for Jerry Jones. And in terms of Green Bay, a lot of people don't think about this very often. You go back and do a deep dive on their stats. They were the 4th best pass rush team in the NFL. And now you add Micah Parsons and his, 62 quarterback sacks? And historically, you know, this is a team that's been really active in terms of getting key players at the right time. You know, the Reggie White acquisitions, things of that nature. So they're going crazy in Green Bay, and they're going crazy in Dallas, screaming at Jerry Jones. So yeah, you're correct, man. I had just started my Thursday podcast, and I got a note on my phone, and I didn't believe it either that this trade had come down. Holy cow, what an earthquake transition. And it should have never gotten to this. Jerry's ego got in the way. Now I think it's detrimental to the team.
Yeah, listen, the Cowboys side of things is spinning it one way. You know, time will tell, like any time on these trades. I mean, everyone's got a hot take the second that it's made. But the one thing I'll say is, from the Packers' perspective, Lee, this was the youngest team in the National Football League to get into the playoffs. They've got their quarterback signed. Like, they now have basically $100 million tied up in 2 players, but a relatively young roster laden with players on rookie contracts. This is about the biggest all-in move we've seen from an NFL team in a long time. And certainly Matt LaFleur feels like the time is now for his Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I concur. And how about the other guys in the NFC North? How about Detroit and Dan Campbell? How about Minnesota and Kevin O'Connell? How about the coaching staff in Chicago? And how about all those quarterbacks now having to face Green Bay's elite pass rush? I mean, this is a phenomenal group of skilled, and you're correct, Hustler, skilled, really good young guys who can fly and run. And that's all their addresses now in the NFC North. You know, we're kind of spoiled out here. We think the AFC West, with the coaches and the quarterbacks out here from Kansas City to Denver to the Chargers to the Raiders, this is pretty cool division. Damn, NFC North, I guess that lives up to the standing black and blue division. What a great race that's going to be.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Lee, elsewhere in the league, we finally got some clarity on the Rashee Rice situation. And, you know, it sounded like the league was originally trying to clip him for 10 to 12 games, which is basically what they gave Deshaun Watson. Jordan Addison was 3 games for a second alcohol-related driving incident. They end up meeting in the middle, 6 games for Rashee Rice. And originally we thought that this would go to arbitration on the 30th of September. Now he won't be available for that first month of the season, but the Chiefs will have him back and good to go for the rest of the year in week 7. How do you make the punishment for Rice and how it all got settled?
Well, I used the word multiple times on our notebook segment the last month or so when we've talked about Rice. What he did was egregious. I don't care that he apologized. I don't care that he paid $1.1 million in medical expenses for the 8 people that he left laying on the highway when he walked away and ran to a bar after the drag racing. It was egregious. So 6 games without pay I thought that was right on. They did indeed want 10, but they negotiated down. Here's the intangible, though. And I know Kansas City's got 7 receivers plus their tight ends on their roster right now, and they're trying to play this that we'll get through it. We'll treat it like he had an ankle sprain. Well, here's the problem, though, Hustler. They won't have Rice week 1, Chargers. They won't have Rice against the Eagles, Baltimore, and Detroit. Those are 4 of the best teams in the league. In the first 6 weeks, you got to play, and you're not going to have Rice. That's a big issue. Now, they do have Hollywood Brown. They have the young guy, Xavier Worthy, who in flashes last year was pretty impressive. They still have the old dog, the warhorse, Juju Smith-Schuster, who's there. They got a young big kid by the name of Ty Thornton, who is, I think he's 6'3", 6'4", who really looks good, but he's young and he's a rookie. They think with Kelsey and Noah Gray, the other tight end, that they're going to have enough to lose Rice. But, man, the people they're playing in the first 6 weeks, those 4 teams, that's big boy football. So this is going to be a bit of a setback. The intangible, obviously, in Kansas City is, have they solved the left tackle, right tackle problems? They think they have, and they want to be in an attack mode on opening day a week from today when they go play the Chargers down in Brazil. Only time will tell. But losing a marquee star guy, a big play guy, against those 4 teams on that schedule, yikes.
Yeah, I'm going to be at that the home opener against the Eagles in week 2, and was certainly kind of hoping Rice would be in there. But big picture, listen, he deserves it. Pay the suspension. The Chiefs are pretty good. I mean, thinking of what they've done for the last few years, he was out most of last season with far less talent around him. I have a feeling Kansas City will be okay. Will the Niners be okay? Like, this is a team that, was decimated last year. Their season was nuked by injuries. And it seems like, while Christian McCaffrey's back, they're sort of starting off in a similar situation than last year, Lee.
Well, Christian McCaffrey's back, but the rest of the roster's nuked. I mean, they spent the entire offseason shedding payroll and veteran players because they had really monster cap problems. And they got to the OTAs, and they started losing players with injuries. And they're not healthy. They don't have any receivers outside of Ricky Pearsall, last year's number 1 pick. Virtually everybody else is hurt. Deebo Samuel is gone. Obviously, the other star wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk, he's going to be gone at least 4 to 6 weeks because he's on that injured reserve with a right to recall. Juwan Jennings, who they really like, he's got injury problems, and he's got attitude problems. He wants a monster payday before he ever comes back off his injury. They've got all kinds of injury issues in the front, offense, defense. If we're talking about teams that are going to have a bad season, San Francisco probably goes to the head of the list. Might be an implosion coming there in Miami. I think there's trouble brewing in Indianapolis with the Colts right now. So, yeah, there's some teams in trouble. But I think Frisco's got so many injuries. And they were a miserable, 6-11 last season? I don't know if they're going to win 6 games this season because they just don't have enough people, aside from obviously Christian McCaffrey and the fact that they traded for a second running back. Unless they're going to go to the wing tee and just run the damn football, I don't know how they're going to be able to hang in games.
Yeah, you mentioned the Colts, and I'll be honest, I'm actually kind of quietly optimistic for this season. Now, it's not like I think Daniel Jones is going to turn into Patrick Mahomes anytime soon, but when you look at what Anthony Richardson did as the 55th ranked quarterback out of 55 QBs the last little while, I mean, they do have a bunch of, they've had a strong line. They've got a great running back in Jonathan Taylor. They spent that first-round pick on a dynamic tight end. They're going to be listen, I'm thinking in a very weak division, too. I mean, I think they'll maybe be a little bit more competitive than they have been in the past. But lots happening off the field in and around Indy, and the latest on Jim Irsay's passing as well.
Yeah, well, the Daniel Jones thing. I mean, he's a solid veteran. He got the hell beat out of him with the New York Giants. Didn't have a lot of people pass block for him. I don't know if he's going to get the hell beat out of him here. Anthony Richardson wasn't ready to play, and that's a byproduct of being a kid on a bad team who wasn't a complete player coming in the door. And they just got to work through that. I mean, you can't have your quarterback complete 47% of your passes. Daniel Jones would be better than that.
Yeah.
In terms of the Irsay thing, this is a period exclamation point to a tragic story. Now there's just a lot more detail. The Washington Post did an unbelievable investigative piece that broke at 5 a.m. yesterday morning about Irsay, and it's just got terrible incriminations about a Colts cover-up from the executives of the Colts that knew that Jim Irsay kept relapsing, had almost died 3 different times because of drug overdoses, had disappeared and spent 4 months in a hospital. They tried to save his life. And now the Washington Post goes back in and they find out there was never an autopsy on the body, that the family claimed the body and that had been found in Beverly Hills in a hotel, brought it back and buried it without any autopsy. A personal physician that Jim Irsay had hired was dispensing him volumes of opioids, shipments of 200 and 400 pills and packages to his home over the last year and a half of his life. There's a segment in that story that said that Irsay sent his own private jet to Palm Springs, California 44 times in 18 months to pick up drugs from this recovery doctor that he was doing business with. And the recovery doctor at the end was flying into Indianapolis or flying into Miami or into the Bahamas where Irsay was vacationing to give him injections of ketamine, which is a super anesthetic. And that's eventually how he died of drug overdoses. But it's a terribly sad story because Irsay obviously had terrible demons over the course of his life, and his father was a raging alcoholic when he owned the Baltimore Colts. He came from a very dysfunctional family. But yet Jim Irsay meant a lot to Indianapolis. He did some unbelievable charitable things. I interviewed him twice when I was the voice of the Chargers and the Seahawks. I just found him to be a fascinating guy. But obviously I knew he had a lot of issues. And then he was very open and upfront about it. And he started a program called Kick the Stigma in Indianapolis for troubled youths with drugs. He poured $30 million of his own wealth into the program to help young people. So, I mean, he was kind of viewed as a saint in the city of Indianapolis for all his charity work, and yet obviously he had all these demons that claimed his life. The sad aspect is Colt upper-level management and that family knew it and they covered it up. And the NFL had to know that he had relapsed and gone deep back into that rabbit hole and did absolutely nothing about it. And he had been suspended once before on a DUI because of amphetamine pills, etc. So it's a sad ending. It kind of made me sad because I've been in Indy. I worked in Indianapolis. I know what Jim Irsay meant to the community. And just to see all this kind of show up again with different spin to it, to me, it just really made me sad. He did a lot of phenomenal things for communities I just relayed. But, boy, you talk about a troubled life that ended so badly.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hacksaw, great having you on. We're going to be heading out to Regina for the big annual Labor Day pilgrimage for the Bombers and Riders. We got a huge baseball series beginning tonight north of the border between the number 1 team in the NL, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the AL leading Toronto Blue Jays. And, of course, NFL season is just days away right now. Fill people in on what's cooking over at the website. I always say you don't have enough hours in the day to get it all in. Right now is the time of year where that is absolutely the facts.
Well, we just came through roster cutdown time in the NFL this past week. I swear to you, by 9 p.m. the other night, I was laying face down on my couch. I was so wiped out. I had looked at so much information and data, and I'd written about all the roster cuts and how it implicated all the teams. I couldn't look at a computer and read anything. I couldn't talk to anybody. I thought my wife was going to put me on waivers. I mean, I was done. I was fried. But I got a good night's sleep, and here we're back ready talking to you and ready to start the NFL season. You like sports? I write about it every day of the week. Please check my website up there, my old Canada network of friends up there. You'll really like it. It's at leehacksawhamilton.com. I write on it every day. And when you get done listening to this guy in Winnipeg, come across the border, punch up my YouTube channel. We do a live 2-hour show Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30 on the West Coast. And, of course, it's up on the YouTube channel all the time. YouTube, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. And you're right, there's not enough bleeping hours in the world to do all this, but we keep doing it.
Saw, have a great weekend. Enjoy all the action, and I can't wait to talk to you next week. We'll have one game down, and it'll be game day for the Chiefs. And we'll talk to you then, my friend. Have a great long weekend.
And I know you'll have a 19-19 while you're watching the Labor Day game this weekend up there with your Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Hey, Hustler, have yourself a great holiday. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much. There it is. LeeHacksawHamilton.com is the website. And make sure you give Lee a sub over on the YouTube channel at LeeHacksawHamilton.com. All right. We got a lot popping in the chat. This is last call for marbles. I'll give you 30 seconds, and then Adam, if you want to grab it and get ready for the festivities. I will give a quick plug, of course, to our friends at fansfirst.ca with some fan feedback, courtesy of Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No added fees, unlike the other ticket resale sites. Of course, it's the number one spot for Jets tickets all season long, both buying and selling. And good news for Bomber fans that CFL and Blue Bomber games are on Fans First now, because Alex Howe just said in the chat that not only is the Banjo Bowl sold out, but they've just said that the game on the 27th is now sold out. This run of Blue Bomber sellouts is historic, but if you still need to get in, or you've got a couple extra tickets you want to get rid of, fansfirst.ca there for you. Tons of great feedback from people that really enjoyed the Steve-O interview. Shout out to the Jets Pope, and I can see this. The Pope is of the age where the Jackass crew would have been, when he said culturally relevant, incredibly done if you were kind of a young, troublemaking teenager at that time. But lots of fun stuff for the Steve-O interview. And then Saws all up in the chat when Lee Hacksaw Hamilton came in. Plenty of takes on both Lee's visit and, of course, his thoughts. I'll wait. I'm glad Connor was managed to just stand down when Lee said he thought that the Niners might win 6 games. That's certainly not what Connor wanted to hear. We'll get him back in right now as we let's get to the Coolbet lines before we do before we do the marble race. And again, don't forget fansfirst.ca, by fans, for fans, no fees. Connor, was your blood boiling when you heard Lee's take on the Niners? In all seriousness, how are you feeling about the season right now? Because, listen, this is a team that, when healthy, should legit be a team right there with the top of the NFC. But, man, I mean, it's like they're starting this year kind of where they left off last year, minus, of course, the health of McCaffrey, but the receiving core is decimated.
Yeah, when people talk about the wide receiver injuries to the San Francisco 49ers, they seem to just forget that they have a top 2, maybe the best all-around tight end in football, and George Kittle. So I like to say Lee has had a lot of great takes on this show, but to say that the Niners might not win 6 games, I don't know. I'm biased, but I disagree on that one. I gotta say, the thing with the 49ers too is they have one of, and I believe the easiest by actual strength of schedule win percentage schedule in the NFL. So even if they're not entirely healthy the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season until Brandon Ayuk and Juwan Jennings come back, they might go 4-2. And then when those guys come back, they might go on a winning streak. This season for the Niners, for me, I'm bracing for them to be frauds, where they win 10 or 11 games against terrible teams and then get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. That's what I'm bracing for. But to say they're going to win 6 games, like a team with McCaffrey and Kittle on it, I don't see it, man.
I will say that the win total at Coolbet for the Niners is 10.5. So I think your point with the schedule was well taken, and they still are the Niners. They've got a hell of a coaching staff, a great roster. It's just a matter of whether those guys can play. Just as we get to these lines for tonight, I mean, you can head over and you can see on the screen, Week 1 lines are up for the National Football League. And today, this morning, on the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel, we cranked out our futures extravaganza. Pat, Jake, and I went over our favorite player props, award winners, league leaders, and then we did win totals. We did divisional bets. We did make the playoffs or miss the playoffs. And then, of course, our AFC, NFC, and Super Bowl picks. So check that out at your convenience at some point. And, of course, all the futures up at Coolbet right now. Perfect time. If you haven't played there before, use that promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And for cool bettors, Jake just did tweet out or mentioned in the chat at the end of our show that pay attention to the promos next week because there will be a NFL reload deposit bonus if you're thinking about stocking up and getting in for the upcoming season. Let's get to the CFL lines. And this is good news, I guess. I'm hoping this just means things are trending really well for the health of Nick Dembski. We expect Dalton Schoen, but that line that was 5.5 when I went to bed last night is now 4. So the Riders are 4-point favorites in the Labor Day game. The Bomber money line has gone from plus 195 down to plus 180. Riders minus 222 and 4-point favorites. Total in the game is 51.5. Moving to Monday, early game is the Battle of Ontario. The Toronto Argonauts in the hammer to take on the Tabbies. The Ticats are 5.5-point favorites. Toronto 2-1 to win on the money line and plus 5.5. The over-under for that game is 57.5. And Connor, as we said yesterday on the program, it would have to get a lot higher to not like the over in that game, considering the way these offenses have been rolling all season long.
Yeah, I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. That over-under needs to get into the mid-60s for me to be scared of it. That's 2 good offenses with 2 bad defenses. There's going to be a lot of points. And it makes for a perfect, Monday afternoon Labor Day game, Huss, where you just sit back, hopefully after a big Bombers win, hopefully it's a victory Monday, and just watch a ton of points being scored. So I'm actually excited for that game. I'm excited for all 3 of these games, even though that one's probably got the least amount of juice behind it in terms of, anticipation. But still, I'm excited for it. It's going to be a great weekend. And I hope we had that 4th game. I agree with you and Jeff from CFL 110. I hope we had Ottawa versus Montreal to really round out this slate. But I'll take the 3 games, and they're all going to be fun.
I would have really preferred, I think they needed to have Ottawa Montreal tonight. I mean, kick off Labor Day weekend with Friday night football. It sucks. I mean, we're so used to Friday night football. This is the one week that we don't get it. But again, the Argo Ticat game's kicking off at 1:30 our time on Monday. And then at 5 o'clock, it's the Elks and the Stamps. I know there's a bunch of ESTers in here to get ready for Marble Race. The EST and the Elks teamed up. They've got a couple buses heading down. So you, Chaz, and the boys, you guys have a good time. Maybe Cody Fajardo can do the Bombers and Riders a favorite with a big, big win. Right now, I'm seeing a Coolbet 7.5. I've heard as high as 9.5, which to me is absolutely nuts. I'm really loving the underdogs in these games. I mean, I've kind of walked myself into convincing myself that this Labor Day game will be close. I mean, that is it's the way you got to feel as a Bomber fan. I think the Bombers' path to victory is a close game. Even at 4 points, I'll ride with the Bombers. I'm going to take the Argos with the points. And I'm a Fajardo believer right now. Even if they're down in the 4th quarter, I could see them garbage timing their way into a backdoor cover. But I'm hoping that this will be a fun one. Now, if you just go to the main page on Coolbet and go down into the combo cards, if you get down a little, you can see the CFL win boost. So as I said, I'm rolling with the underdogs. We've got the Bombers plus 4.5, Argos plus 5.5, Elks plus 7.5. That is from plus 571 boosted to plus 656. So you can get into that. We also put together a couple of our favorites, and this is a futures bet from the winners, but Dak Prescott to go over his passing yards for the regular season. Jahmyr Gibbs to go over his rushing yards for the regular season. And Micah Parsons to go over 12.5 sacks. That's got a nice boost up to plus 686 right now. Lots of great boosted things for the upcoming NFL season. We'll get some more next week as we get into it. But it is all right there at Coolbet. And one more thing before we pivot to marbles. Tonight's Jays game. This series, Connor, is going to be so good. Like, Bieber tonight on the mound. We've got, who's going for the, Freddie Peralta for the Brewers. But Brewers plus 118, Blue Jays minus 139. Total for the game is a low 7.5 with the two pitchers that are on board. That one is going to get going just after 6 p.m. our time. And Jays, Brewers, outside of football, and I know a lot of people love college football, there's that big Texas-Ohio State game tomorrow. Let's just check on that one. It was 1.5 the last time I saw it. And it's 1 now. Texas is a 1-point favorite. It's basically a pick 'em, minus 110 on either side. Hell of a way to start the season for college football. But this is big boy baseball right now. It's been that way for the Jays for the last 6 weeks or so. Now as we get into September, great test for them with the Milwaukee Brewers that have been, the best team in baseball so far this season.
Honestly, Huss, I was very excited for Shane Bieber's debut. I think I'm more excited for this game because he looked so good in his debut, and now he gets to get in front of the home crowd against the top 2 teams in the league. If he shoves tonight and throws 6 great innings once again, like, how could you not be fully aboard the Blue Jays train right now? What a awesome season so far. They're coming off that miraculous win with Barger with the 2-run double in the 3rd game of the series against the Twins. And Barger was in a massive slump. And then Jeff Hoffman shuts the door. So I'm very, very excited for that. And then tomorrow, 11 o'clock our time, like I said, I know a lot of people, some people in our chat, probably not the biggest college football fans, but Arch Manning for Texas going on the road in Ohio State. And that game's at like 11. It's going to be a great way to wake up on Saturday morning. And then we got the Bomber game Sunday, CFL Monday, and the next week NFL, and training camp is right around the corner. So this is like my favorite time of the year for sports. So much to take a look at Coolbet. And the options are endless for sure.
Just wait in a couple weeks when we get hockey going as well. Minus 110 on either side. Texas, Ohio State. Who you got?
I asked Jake Boland-Moss, who's in chat right now. Shout out Jake. I asked him and he said he's not sure. I'm also not sure. Like, it's the 1 versus the 3 ranked team. Arch Manning is, a younger quarterback going on the road at Ohio State, who's won the Natty last year. I'll take Ohio State just because they're the home team, and maybe there's a chance Arch Manning is just rattled in his first, big anticipated start here. So I'll take Ohio State, but again, I would not be shocked if Arch Manning came out, threw 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a great game, in Texas, the number 1 ranked team, won as well. But I'm just excited to watch it. It's 2 good teams. It's a pick 'em. We'll see how it goes.
By the way, JBM, who Jake, of course, who would join myself and Pat for our future special today, is in the chat, said that this is going to be the David Price game where he goes crazy in his first start at home. Jake's calling another 9 strikeouts, over 7.5 strikeouts, plus 354 tonight. And one thing you'll also want to do if you want to get in on this Jays game tonight, they've got a whole bunch of daily exclusives in the exclusives. And there's also a series bet, minus 120 for the Jays to win the series. And here's one for you. Bieber fever. Shane Bieber records 6 or more strikeouts in the Jays to win tonight. Might have to get on that. Again, looking forward to a great year with Coolbet. We'll have hockey content coming up for WST winners with myself and Remo and Connor as we get closer to the season. And again, every Friday morning from now until the Super Bowl, 10 a.m. right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk Fridays for our weekly picks against the spread and more. All right. There's only one thing left to do. And again, shout out to our guy, Adam. When Remus goes away, he is the maestro of the marbles. And it is not easy just to get her all done. But despite the fact that we don't have much communication during the show, because I'm talking the whole time, I see that it is ready to rock. We have, this is a new track I'm not familiar with. I'll look forward to it. Looks like a pretty cool start. Again, big thanks to Shipman Associates for the hoodies. Whoever wins, we'll hook you up with one. And you just have to let us know your size. We'll do a meetup. By the way, whoever was texting me for last week or maybe the week before, Been a crazy week, but I'll be back next week. We'll get that done. If you haven't picked one up, you can hit us up, and we'll make sure we can get that done next week. But without further ado, again, thanks again to Adam for making this happen. We are ready to go with the marble race on a Friday afternoon heading into Labor Day. 204 marbles are in the race. Let her rip, and let's see how we do on today's marble race. This is the Fear of Heights track. Very cool start. Not seen this one before. Cowboy and Schnitzy. Look at Schnitzy. By the way, keep your eyes out, everybody. Keep your eyes out. If you're watching the game on television, Schnitzy put his name in to be one of the flag bearers for the game and got picked. So tomorrow or on Sunday, there'll be a bunch of Rider fans. Look for the guy in blue, which should be great. Rob Pepper is there. Oh, we're seeing a few marbles not make it to the next lead, but Felix Petkow, Rob Pepper, Brody, Kelsey Walsh, T. Conopoli right in the mix. We're continuing as we continue on. By the way, Adam is doing an unbelievable job of camera work here. Now, do we have Big Uke? Big Uke is all of a sudden in first place? What happened here? He's not making the most of his nice bounce because he's already been passed. But, and there's T. Conopoli. You know, T. Conopoli, T. Conopoli just got shot up. Is he still in? No, he isn't. No, he isn't. And here we go. It rolls it right down. Holy smoke, Smokey with the win. Oh, I thought that was going to be T. Conopoli's day. He had that very generous super chat to us, slagging Rod Pedersen, one of his rivals. And wow, that was a crazy race. With it being a new track, I wasn't realizing that the end was right there, but there it was. So holy smoke, Smokey. Stoop 223 in second. Felix Petkow third. Strong race for Felix. John Lehman fourth. Bruce H 5. Larry in sixth. Low budget in 7. I think that's iHeart Gaming in 8th. Caleb Hofer and TTTTT Bone in 10th. We will just wait till we get to the end. And then Adam, if you can, once the race is over, we'll just do a quick scroll down so everyone can see where they finished. And there it is. Holy smokes, Smoley, 44, the winner. Holy smokes, send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com with your contact info as well as what size you take. And I'll holler at you next week when we're back from Labor Day and you can come by to pick it up. There you have the top 10. And again, Adam, you can just roll down through this. There's Drew Music, Eagle Eyes, Royal Sports. There's Mike Lay, Accountant to the Stars. Hustlerama, yes, 34th. I'll take that. Klassen, AJ. There's another Royal Sports. There's Shane Mason. Todd Fertani. What's up, Todd? Tony B, Russ Lowen. There's Phyllis. Roscoe. What's up, Ross? Good to see you at the track earlier this week. There's Dr. Terry. He's done with the fillings. It's cold beer time for him. There's the Pope, Cowboy, Rick Benson, and Rick Fair. And then you could just roll this down. All Ron P, Amanda. Tough one for the ladies today. Some of our top marble racers not quite getting in. There you have it. There is today's race. Holy smokes, Smoley, the champion for Labor Day weekend, Friday, August 29th. And Connor, it is crazy for me to say this, but this is the last show of August. And when we get back on Tuesday to do this program, we're 2 days away from NFL kickoff. Kids will be going back to school and just over 2 weeks away from Winnipeg Jets training camp. I can't believe the summer flew by like that.
This summer, has absolutely flown by. It's been a ton of fun. I mean, the Bombers, we launched WST Bombers Report, me and Schnitzy, this summer, and we've been locked into that. And they've had such an up and down start to this season. And the Gold Eyes and the Sea Bears seasons have just flown by here. But yeah, NFL, NHL, I'm super fired up. This is, like I just said, this is the best time of the year. And I hope everyone traveling to Regina, you yourself included, Huss, on the 1930 crew, safe travels, everyone. Have a great time. Hopefully you're coming home happy after a big Bombers win.
That is the plan. Let all of your family members and friends know that you're booked next year for Labor Day.
I will let them know. Yeah, I will.
But that being said, have a great time at the wedding, and I'm sure you'll be able to stay on top. There's Dr. Terry. Let's go blue. Exactly. It's going to be fun. I am hoping to see many of you out there. Just as we finish up, if you're heading to Regina, let us know in the chat. I see a Phyllis can't wait for for NHL season. And Running Man, great shows today, WST. Thank you. Have fun in Queen City, Huss, and to everyone else that is going to the game. Antoine Gannett, let's go green. Hey, Rider fans, you're welcome here as well. And Jake, have some cold ones for me. Go Riders. That's right. He's a Rider guy. Your boy Brett Loeffler needs to step it up. I'll tell you that, because we got Sergio. And if the game comes down to the foot of one of the two kickers, feeling pretty good about our guy. But it is going to be fun. And he said, Antoine Gannett's out there now. Drive safe out to Regina. Already seeing some Manitoba plates around town. Terry's going to be out in Pinawa. Terry, have a great weekend. Huge thanks to Adam. Amazing job the last couple days. You'll also see his incredible work on the Assiniboia Downs broadcast. I'll have to come out and say hi to Adam and the gang at the track next week when we're back. But that is going to do it for us. Very, very fun shows today. Long day. I guess I've been talking since about 10 in the morning because we had that NFL Futures Extravaganza. Do me a favor, go over, check it out. Leave a comment with your favorite pick. And of course, bottom line, have a great weekend. Take in the Labor Day game with friends and family, wherever you are. Enjoy it. Have a great day off Monday watching CFL and getting ready for September. It is going to be here before we know it. But first off, let's have a hell of a long weekend. Thanks again to Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, Ken Wiebe, Rod Pedersen, and Steve O. We will have Steve O tickets coming up in the next couple of weeks. And by the way, last call, Winnipeg Sports Talk contest for you fantasy footballers. Get your entries in. We'll be giving out those premium fantasy points memberships to help you all season long next week right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks to Adam. Thanks to Connor. Thanks to all of you. We'll be back Tuesday, recapping Labor Day weekend, getting ready for NFL kickoff, and looking ahead to Jets training camp in a couple weeks right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. And if you see us in Regina, make sure to say hi. It's going to be a good one. Later, everybody.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.